Thank you. Hey, Alfredo.
Hi, Sheri. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am great. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday. We have a person on our team that says Mondays are the best days.
We do,
So,
guys. We have for those of you that don't know, Sheri and I get to start our Mondays together, almost like a little breakfast session of setting ourselves up for our week. And one of our teammates is always like, "I am so happy it's Monday. I love Mondays." Conrad, if you're out there, it's almost impossible to say you don't like Mondays if you're on our morning Monday call, I feel like.
it absolutely true. Absolutely true.
It's like
Which
even
I
if you're like,
love.
oh, it's Monday, by the time he talks, you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's Monday.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
it is Monday. That's for sure. So, Alfredo, I know when we talked earlier, as we always do on Monday mornings, you had some things that you were bringing up that you had seen over the weekend. Just you were out and about, you were spending some time online, you were spending some time, um, getting some vitamin D and had some thoughts. And I was wondering if you wanted to just share those thoughts with everybody, or at least let's start the discussion about them. Yes.
Yeah, at least start the discussion, right? Yeah, it was, I had a great, I mean, in New York, you're in New York too, Sheri, and I'm a California boy, just moved to New York, and the weather I had it very easy as far as weather was concerned. It was never snowing or freezing, but it was probably the first weekend I think that we had sunshine, like real sunshine. It was beautiful outside. So yeah, I did go out and listen to some music and lay in the grass and just think. I mean, it was super simple, nothing crazy. Like I think I said, I brought a banana with me and my music and a towel and laid in the sun. Been important for me to just be outside a little bit and get some fresh air. But I also always I can't help but to look at social media. I take breaks like everybody else. I definitely take breaks from the news. For me, I can't watch the news all the time, just a little bit. But I do like to see what's going on in the hair community with our hairstylists around the world and just kind of get a pulse of what's happening. Um, what I see right now is I was telling you this morning, it I try to see all sides, and I do see all sides of everything, and I feel like I would think we're on the same page with that. It's like I just want to serve hairstylists and be there to help them any way that I can, whatever it is they're going through, and wherever their head's at in the situation. I've just been noticing salons are starting to reopen in certain parts of the world, in certain parts of our country, in the United States here. And I'm seeing a lot of division from hairstylists where people have very specific feelings. Some are very, very, they want to go back to work. They're excited. If they get pushed back, they get very angry that they're being pushed back because they want to get back in the salon. Some are afraid to go to the salon. Some are mad at people that are going back to the salon. And it reminds me very political, maybe, if you will. Reminds me sometimes of elections or something where half the people feel so strongly one way and half the people feel so strongly the other way. So I've just been thinking about how to navigate that in positions like ours to really serve all hairdressers and to be there for all of the community for whatever they're feeling as best we can. And that was kind of the point of mine this morning when we were chatting, where my head was at after kind of viewing the state of affairs with hairstylists over the weekend.
Yeah, I think that it is an interesting time,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been seeing the same thing that you're seeing, which is this desire to get back to work, and simultaneously this frustration, if you can call it that,
Yeah.
with what is what is going to feel safe, right? And
Mm-hmm.
pressure, I think, from clients. I'm hearing a lot about pressure from
Yes.
clients. And I think at the end of the day, part of what is going to be an important piece for everybody is just remember the beginning when we were first going into lockdown mode or pre-lockdown, we started talking
Yeah.
about the stages of change.
Yes.
And we sort of got comfortable, right? We were looking at this new way and learning to operate in the new way. And I think everyone's done an amazing job at showing up to serve for others in the industry right now, while simultaneously taking the time to consume education in a different way. And I think that now, interestingly enough, we need to recheck in with ourselves, because there is another state of change that's happening, right? There's another state of change that's happening, which means we're sort of going back to those initial stages of denial, etc. So really important for us to, in this moment, continue to check in with ourselves on what stage of change that we're in, and how to look to the now normal, as you know that I call it. Now, I am going to say that that's going to be the, from now till maybe the first month or two after opening, and then we're going to have another now normal. So just the stages of change aren't just relevant to when we first went into lockdown. They're relevant to every day, the new things that we face. So thank you for bringing that up this morning, Alfredo, as well as just now, because it's important for all of us to continue to check in on ourselves, and then check in with others as well to see how they're doing.
I love that you said that, because you brought it all into perspective this morning for me when you shared that with me. You're like, well, let's go back to this stages of change and remember, like, we're just going through a different phase of that. And it's like, in the beginning when you and I would talk, you'd be like, this is going to keep changing. You told me that from day one, and this is going to keep evolving. So just because you think you know what's going on today, tomorrow we may have to pivot, and I think that this is another one of those moments. I think it's important that people realize too, wherever you're at right now, we say that it's okay.
Yeah.
Try to be compassionate and have empathy towards other people. And we're all going through a different stage right now, like of it. And some of us are in different stages, maybe because of where we live or because of just where our emotional mindset is at. And just try to love your neighbor right now, guys, a little bit, and just be a little bit more understanding that everybody is going through what they're going through, and they're at their moment of this right now.
It's true. I think sort of, social media is interesting. Love it. I love it. I don't hate it at all. I love it. But what I was thinking a little bit, like, have you ever watched, for anyone out there that's ever watched a soccer game or some sort of game that's on the television, right? If you're into it and you're sort of screaming, maybe even a reality TV show, and you're like talking to the TV and you're like, no, why'd you do that? Like, in that moment when you're receiving the information, even if it's news, I sometimes will turn on, like I've told you, like once a week, you gave me that advice just to do a quick check-in. And, I have this, like, he said, what are you talking about, you crazy person? Or, whatever it is that I'm yelling at the TV. And I think what can happen is when we're reading these things, when we're reading an opinion that feels different than ours, we can have an emotional reaction to it. And we take immediately to sort of venting, if you will, online. And I don't want to say for anybody not to do that, because maybe that's your form of expression, or you're getting it off your chest. But sometimes, I know there's sometimes I'll say, if I'm having an argument with my significant other, right? And there's in the heat of the moment, I'll say something that inevitably I'll regret later. And so, but that energy, that emotion, that when emotion is high, when my emotion is high in the middle of an argument, my intelligence is low and I just blurt stuff out. Whereas in a normal conversation, I'd first sort of seek to understand before being understood.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we have no idea what's going on in that person's life that's causing them to react that way, to say that thing. And so, to your point, how do we support and be encouraging of each other? That would be, I think that's a great thing to do.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just, it's not really, it's kind of pointless. I would say I do scream at sports sometimes, but I scream more at my television if I'm watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or RuPaul's Drag Race. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, you've mentioned RuPaul's a couple times, and I think I'm going to have to start watching it because I have not ever, and I think it would be something I'd enjoy. And maybe I'll scream at my
Oh,
TV.
RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yeah, in those
You would
cases
live
as
for it.
well.
I can't believe it. Hello, your sparkle persona would be like living for RuPaul's Drag Race for sure. Yeah. There's like competitions. They
Excellent.
lip
Well, I'll
sync for
check
their
it out.
life. We could be like Philip Foresto, who we have coming. We could be like, the time has come for you to balayage for your life.
Oh, okay. I will definitely watch it. I think that is a great point because, as you know, one way that we try to stay present and bring people what they need is through R&B Mondays, which is Raise My Bar Mondays, and you have an amazing. You know, you are sort of the curator of lineups. We have chats, and then you semi curate these lineups. So I'm going to let you actually talk about our guests today. So who do we have on today,
I'm
Alfredo?
so excited. I mean, I'm excited every Monday. I feel like it's like a repeat of me. I'm like, I'm so excited for today, but I always am so excited when we do these Mondays. Today, man, talk about powerhouses. We have Mr. Philip Foresto, who will be up first today. And I'll introduce him in just a bit, but doing balayage today, obviously something close, dear to my heart. I love balayage, blonding, all those things, as many do. And then we have Miss Tabatha Coffey today. So excited. Chatted with her a little bit. She's going to be sharing some incredible business tips and insights, and always going to be surprised and excited at what Tabatha has to share. And lastly, we have Chrystofer Benson. Chrystofer, I spoke to you just a little while ago. He's going to be showing us different color techniques, what inspires him, and how he comes to the patterns that he creates for these colors. And he's also going to surprise us. Well, it's not a surprise anymore because I'm going to tell you he's going to do a little bit of cutting to show us how he can change the color that he's created by cutting different designs in it to open it up and to showcase his color work. So what a day we have today. Yeah. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm very excited. I think what I'm going to do is, I tried a new device today, and what I can see is that I look very clear on my camera. I look very blurry on the camera online. So I'm going to switch back to my good old faithful computer while you and Philip take it away, and I'll see you in just a few minutes.
I look forward to it. I noticed that too, but I didn't know if it was just in my imagination. So I will see you in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you so much, Alfredo. Good luck, Philip. I'll be watching from the side as I log on on my other computer. Thank you so much.
See you in a second. I love the whole like guerrilla aspect of this, you guys. Like, I think we're 4 weeks in, a month in. So fun doing this stuff on YouTube and just like having artists on, just super sharing education on what they love. So I'm going to introduce our first guest today. This man really needs no introduction. I noticed him, I don't know how many years ago. It's been years and years. Time goes by so fast. I would say 3. It's probably been 4 or more. But I used to just see this guy on social media with the most beautiful balayage, foliage, every kind of blonding technique you could imagine, little tiny slices and weaves and like pulling out the hair. Like when you see a Philip Foresto hair video, in my opinion, you know it's him before you look to see who it is. That's how I feel about Philip when I see it. It's always the most beautiful, healthy, shiny blondes, amongst many other things, but it's definitely what he's known for. And I feel like he was kind of, to me, one of the very first, like people have their first styles and signatures, to really do that, pulling out the foils and you see that placement and then the finish, he gets behind and the reveal. I always say when I see a Philip Foresto video, oh, here comes the reveal. And then he shows the model's face a lot. I don't know. I love what he does. I'm a friend, but I'm also like a fan too of his work. And have known him for a few years and just such a beautiful person inside and out and so talented. So we're so excited to have Philip with us. Without further ado, I know Sheri's going to be popping up in a second. I bring you Mr. Philip Foresto. Hi, Philip.
What's up, Alfredo? How's it going, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I appreciate that.
It's from the heart and it's how I feel. You know that.
Absolutely.
So you are in Louisiana.
That's right, man. It's here in New Orleans, and it's been crazy. Like you guys were kind of chatting about earlier, kind of going through this change in life and pace and work. Just been absorbing the realism of it and waiting to get back.
What is the current status right now? Because I know Louisiana was also hit hard.
We were.
As far as certain states that have been on the news a lot, and what's the current state of affairs right now for you there?
As of now, I think we're supposed to open back up on the 15th, but there's going to be phases of opening, and so I'm not quite sure if salons are in that first phase or not. We got hit really hard because right when the virus kind of hit, of course, we had Mardi Gras, and so we had people from all over the country and the world coming in to celebrate. And so I think that it hit a little bit heavier. And so we've had a few more pushbacks than some of the other states. So fingers crossed for the 15th.
All right. Well, we're wishing you good vibes out there to everybody in Louisiana and New Orleans. Such a beautiful city. I've been there many times for Mardi Gras a few years ago. And wow, what a party you guys throw. For Mardi Gras. That was fun. I got lots of beads. I'll just leave it right there. So, so what are you going to be showing us today?
So I'm going to be demonstrating for you guys some lightning techniques. Just kind of really getting into, I think more importantly than saying exactly what kind of technique it is, I just want to kind of bring you guys through my thought process.
I would love that. We would love that.
Really think how I approach every color and client a little bit differently, and that's kind of what keeps me present and centered and from tiring out.
Really quick before you get started, I have to ask you, because you are like one of the best, like I said it in my intro for you, the way that you make videos, when I scroll and I see a video by you, I know it's you before I always go, there's Philip Foresto. It's the technique, the beauty of it, and then just the style. Because you were really one of the first that I saw doing what I said, like it's pulling out the foil, like there's just a very, like, I have methodologies to the way I do my videos. You have a very distinct methodology to the way you do your videos. What inspired you to present your work that way? It's beautiful.
Well, I really appreciate that, first of all. But for me, as soon as I realized that social media was going to be key for growing my clientele, and that business cards were going to kind of be this thing of the past, I knew that I had to create something that was going to be identifiable. And thank you for saying it, because it means a lot to me. I wanted to be recognized by my work, even more so than myself. I wanted you to see the work and kind of know. So in my mind, I was like, what can I do to become identifiable? What can I do to say that's Philip, and kind of show who I am, or something that ties closely to me. And so I just I had fun with it, and I was organic about it, and I tried a few different things, and I realized soon and early on that that anything satisfying was going to be eye-catching. And so, whether it be, pulling product out of the hair, or painting something out of the hair, kind of making it sexy. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, clients want to feel sexy. And I was like, how can I make these videos sexy? Like, let's slow it down a little bit. Let's pull the foils out slow. And, it worked, and I'm thankful for it.
It most certainly did. The hair, they call it the hair porn, right? Hair porn, I think, is what they call it on social media.
Yeah.
We love that, and process porn and all. It's so good. So today, talk to us then. Are you doing a certain technique, or are you going to talk to us about like how you decide what technique you're going to do?
I'll first go into kind of telling you how I decide what technique I'm going to do. I get asked a lot via social media, what's the placement? Can you send me a diagram? And while I'm happy to do that, I don't necessarily have a set diagram. And from the beginning, I know that we all as artists approach our canvases differently, but for me, it's really, I approach everyone a little bit differently. I don't necessarily have a structure, a permanent structure. I want to go into it and feel it out and be organic about it and do something a little bit differently for everybody. And even when they return and they want the same thing, I'm still thinking of ways I'm still doing it a little bit differently. I'm not necessarily doing the same thing. I'm adding to it. So my process is a little bit different every time, and that's what keeps it fresh for me. I'm very I can get tired of things easily, and that helps prevent that.
Love that. All right, well, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. So if I need to adjust anything, please let me know. I want to show you guys my beautiful model today. So what I went ahead and did for you guys, this is obviously what she looked like before, but I went ahead and I'm a little bit blurry, so you guys might have to correct me a little bit. And I just kind of did some fun, balayage and teasy lights. But I also try to, of course, drop that base a little bit up top because I'm a big fan of that. A lot of my clients don't come and see me but every few months. And so really incorporating a nice shadow root or root melt, color melt, is going to give them that longevity, but still give them that feeling of blonde and dimension throughout. Can you guys see that all right?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And as you guys know, when it comes to mannequin heads, they can be a little bit frustrating.
Are you calling out? You said they need upgrading, the mannequin heads?
I got into an argument with this mannequin head earlier, but she wasn't very receptive. But no,
What's her name? Did you name her? Sometimes if you name them, they become more cooperative.
I haven't, and I didn't, and maybe that's the problem, Alfredo.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just adjusting this a little bit, get the focus on her. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix my colors together before we get started. I'm going to be using the Redken Flash Lift with the bonder inside, which if you aren't familiar with, it's absolutely awesome. I've played around with a lot of different lighteners since I started doing hair, and there's some really great ones out there, and I think it kind of comes down to who you are as an artist, as to what you like and personal preference. But, the thing I like about the Flash Lift is that it gives me that lift that I need, but that it also gives me, it helps me maintain the integrity, which at the end of the day is always most important, right?
Absolutely.
Can you guys see that all right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, cool. So I saved the front of the head for you guys because I know that's what everybody has the most questions about. They kind of want to see that face frame and they want to see the money piece and all that good stuff. So I saved the best for last.
Fabulous.
I'm going to go ahead and mix now. I'm going to be using 40 volume developer. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's a mannequin and the results are always, we don't know what's going to happen.
What do you normally use if she was human, if she was a human client? I don't know this, so I'm asking actually for myself as well. How do you normally decide what volume you use on a client?
I'll be honest with you, Alfredo. I've always tended to go a little bit higher with my developers, and I don't always share that information because I get a lot of backlash for it. Not usually 40, but I'm not afraid to play around with my developer volumes and use 25s and 35s. And when I say that, obviously I mean, mixing 20s and 30s and 30s and 40s together to get what I need. And that's because I babysit my hair colors. I never finish an application and walk away. Actually, the very first thing I do when I finish an application, as soon as I put the brush down, I start pulling out foils. And so nothing ever has the opportunity to over-process or get damaged. And even if the first foil's done before my application is, I have an assistant. Obviously, they'll help me check that foil again to ensure there's never any damage. But I'd rather get to where I need to be a little bit sooner than later.
I love that. I like that you use the term that you babysit them.
Yeah.
I've never put foils in and had a lunch. Or no, I take that back. I have, and that's why I don't anymore.
Right?
That's
You live and you learn.
yeah, absolutely.
I tell this story a lot in my classes, and it's just to relate. It's you know, I did the put the foils in and go and have lunch, and you know, I came back and I pulled that first foil out from her nape area, and I remember when I pulled on it, some hair came off of my hand, like the whole section,
Oh, wow.
and I about had a heart attack.
I'm sure.
So I immediately ran her to the bowl, trying to not let her see that I was pale in the face. And when we got back there, I took the hair out and I saw if she was looking. And once I realized she wasn't, I just took the hair and I put it in my pocket.
Yep.
Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't want her to see it. I was like, please no. So from that point on, I babysit all the time. All right. So you guys have a pretty good visual?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be utilizing some slices and some zigzag sections, some weaves and some teasing, because my ultimate goal is to create softness and dimension. I learned early on, actually my mentor told me this, the best way to avoid a line is to not create one. And so I'm always trying to diffuse as much as possible in order to create something soft.
Whoop.
So with that being said, I'm going to start right here at her hairline. And I'm going to come up, and as you guys probably already know, the mannequin's hairline is a little bit more unnatural in comparison to some of our actual clients. So we're going to be working with some slightly different angles today, but I'm going to come out and start right here and work my way back with the diagonal back from her hairline here, starting in the temple area. And as I start here, I'm going to be utilizing more of some slices, and I'm going to be working with thinner sections. The reason I want to work with a thinner section in this face frame area is because the thinner your sections are, the more lift you're going to get every time. That's just the way it works. It's the nature of the beast. So I want that pop, and I want that money piece in that face frame to really stand out. So we're going to be utilizing some thinner sections here. So I have my section here. As you guys can see, it's probably a little less than a 1/4 inch thick. And I'm going to be teasing it with no intervals taken out. And by intervals, I mean weaves or negative space.
Nice.
And so I think something really important when it comes to teasing, I see people doing a lot, and I used to do it. I think it'll help improve your consistency with weaving or teasing or backcombing, is I see people pinching their sections this way prior to their tease, and they'll pinch like this, and they'll backcomb. And it's not awful, it's not completely wrong, but what I find is when you pinch your section prior to backcombing, you're going to end up with a little bit more tension in the middle of your sections versus the outside of your section. So what I like to do is really comb through and comb out that section and hold it taut with my fingers this way, almost in a flat iron manner. But in other words, to where I'm not pinching it, to where that section is evenly distributed out this way, and I'm holding it without any pinching. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing hot tip.
Awesome.
I love it.
And so as I'm making sure not to pinch for even tension, I'm going to hold my section, I'm going to put my comb in and just kind of back up. Very lightly, especially around the face area. I don't want to remove too much weight in the face frame area because I do want it to pop. If you've watched my videos, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the board. And now I'm going to start applying my product. I always start about mid-section down, and then just slightly start to feather that product up. I think it's really important to feather that product up and be really be light-handed with it. I like to leave, almost like a V in that top area and just kind of paint into that V section so that I'm not trying to erase any harsh lines when it comes time to do that. and really focus on saturating those mids and those ends, because I know that's where I want to see a majority of my brightness. And then I'll go up and refine that feathered area just a little bit, touch up a little bit. Another big thing is versus folding my foils, I've really learned to love keeping that section completely straight, and maybe doubling up if need be. Just to keep that section straight that way versus folding my foil is going to give me a more consistent lift.
Nice.
And for that second section, what I'm going to do right behind that first one is I'm going to come behind with another slice. The only thing I'm going to do here differently, and this is for grow out purposes, is again, I'm going to come out that section and hold it with even tension, is we're going to remove a little bit of hair in the center of that section. Just one little piece. And what that's going to do is start to break up the hair as we move backwards. And that's so that as her hair grows out, we don't have this extremely harsh line around the face frame. Because that's the first thing they're going to notice and see, right? So with one interval pulled out and even tension, holding the hair taut, I'm going to take my comb and push that hair back. Another hot tip when it comes to back combing that I stand by is I see sometimes people, really raking that hair back and almost creating a more teased effect as if you were doing an upstyle. I think it's important to know that as soon as you start to back comb, if you start to feel any tension, I like to stop. And then wherever I stop, I lift my comb and then I go on top of that section and push back, and then come back in front of my section and push that back. That keeps the back combing organized and neat, so then when it comes time to take that tease out, it almost falls out.
Nice.
That's a really good hat tip, because I know a lot of people have the issue with the teasy lights that it takes them so long to detangle it at the end. Would you like go over that one more time? Because I need to write down some of those notes.
Absolutely. I'll demonstrate it on the next section. So again, I'm right-handed and I'm feathering upwards. I'm kind of creating an outline of where I want my placement to be, and then I remove the board and I come back in and I refine my I know these things from experience. I've made some mistakes, and but they weren't really mistakes because they taught me what to do right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, so now with my third slice that I'll be coming in with here in this temple section. Again, I'm going to make sure that I have that section held tight and even and a lot pinching. And I'm going to start from about mid shaft up. And the difference between, I get asked a lot, how do I know where to start my back? Do I start down here? Do I start in the middle? Do I start really close up to the hairline? I think that it all depends on how much softness you're looking to achieve. What's your ultimate goal? Because if I start my teeth way down here, I'm going to be removing a lot of hair. I'm going to be removing a lot of the natural color. Versus if I start in the middle, I'm going to be doing about 50%, leaving 50% of the natural hair incorporated and creating 50% of a highlight, and so on and so forth. So again, to create that back comb that's going to be really easy to take out, I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to push my comb up. And as soon as I start to feel tension, I'm going to stop and come on top of that piece and push it up, and then come back in front and push it back versus just raking it up. Because what that does is it stacks that piece up neatly so that when it comes time to shampoo that client out and brush out that tease, I'm able to get a majority of my teasy lights out on a majority of my just through shampooing the side. Okay, they almost fall out.
Great.
And this third section, I'm removing 2 intervals. So the first one was a panel with no intervals. The second one was a panel with 1 interval taken out. And now my third section is going to have 2 intervals taken out, and that's just going to give me graduation with softness.
Okay.
I have my board, which is actually, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Alan MJ. He's like an amazing, awesome dude doing killer colors. And he made these boards that I'm just in love with because they're so lightweight and durable and wide. They just work really, really well. Feathering up my section, becoming more light-handed as I move upwards into the hairline for softness. And then removing my board, coming with my product, saturating mid-shaft to end, and then coming in and refining my blend. And then making sure to double up on my foil and not fold for a consistent lift. Not pretty are those from our foils, huh?
Right, love them.
All right, so you know, again, personally, I've when I first started trying out these blonding techniques, I realized I was getting really carried away with my techniques, and just because I got really excited and locked into the fun of it all, and I started to realize that by doing too much blonding, I was losing a lot of dimension. And I think with time and experience, I've learned that sometimes less is more. And sometimes by doing less, you're saving a lot of hair, and you're not overworking. You're getting your money's worth because also by retaining that dimension, I feel like that's is really catching the eyes these days. You know, whenever I'm posting a picture, I find it's kind of the videos or the pictures that I did a little bit less work on to get the most attention. And I think that's because I retained a lot of the dimension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So after that, those first 3 sections are in. As you guys can see, I'm left with this triangle. If I kind of cut it off here at the parietal ridge, I have this section now. And what I want to do is I don't want to necessarily leave a negative space right here over the ear. So I'm going to go ahead and take another slice there, and I'm going to go ahead and cover that. Just so when she pulls her hair back, she's not left with any stripes. Now I'm going to back home that section. As soon as I start to feel tension, I come on top. And I think as you start to see somebody do it fast, it almost looks like they're raking it back, but I know exactly when I'm picking it up and putting it down to keep that back coming really organized.
I love you do it very light. Like you have such a light touch. You can see it when you do it. Some people, I feel like they go more, you know, like you can see they're being a little more aggressive. You have like it's just very with ease that you do it, I notice.
You know, I had the opportunity to work with some Brazilian artists who I was really big fans of their work. And I remember one of them telling me, he's like, the more aggressively you tease, the more aggressively you're going to have to come out.
Yeah.
And he said, when you're teasing, think of your teasing motions almost as you would in like a balayage manner, how you would paint, and almost just use your wrist. Do the same thing when you're backcombing, and it'll come out with ease. And I found that to be true.
Mm.
The Brazilians are amazing when it comes to like blonding hair. As Sheri, I know you were just in Brazil not too long ago.
I was actually giggling because I was thinking to myself, Alfredo thinks the Brazilians are great at everything.
I do. I can't help it. Everything.
Yeah, we know your heart is in Brazil, honey.
I do love Brazil. I was there in December. Yeah, it was
you know, I remember
good New Year's.
It was my first behind the chair show. I had the opportunity to work with some of my hair idols that were from Brazil, and I remember them. They were watching me work, and I was like sweating bullets. And they had nothing but positive things to say, except they go, "Man, beautiful, but you work really hard."
Oh.
I was like, "Really? Do I?" He's like, "Yeah." So that's kind of where I took home the sometimes doing less is more, because it really hit home for me, and I realized sometimes I do get really caught up in my applications, and sometimes I overwork too much, and I lose focus of my end goal because I get caught up in my technique. And so it kind of really helped me learn to stay present, and when I get caught up in when I lose track of the moment, to kind of like reel myself in, and it's made a tremendous difference in a lot of different aspects.
Love it.
Okay, so I have this triangle left here. I have my 3 diagonal back sections that I took, my one over the ear, just so I don't see a hole here when her hair is being pulled back. And if I divide that hair and cut it off right here at the parietal ridge, I'm left with this big negative section. What I like to do and tend to do is just skim off the top of that section and leave a big chunk of this out, because that's going to be some dimension left behind that base frame that's really going to help accentuate that lightness. I've always thought that it's the dark that helps the light. And so it's always the depth that's really going to help that brightness pop. And so for that reason, right behind the money piece that everybody looks at, I really like to leave a lot of depth behind it. So I'm going to leave that section out. Sometimes I will tip out these ends, but I find, it works both ways. It really becomes about personal preference.
Excellent.
I'm learning all your secrets today, Philip, and I love it.
That's why I'm here, man. Thank you. So here with this section right here along the parietal ridge, again, I'm a feeler. I really like to connect with my hair color. So I'm visually just really analyzing this section and thinking about how much combines the brightness that I want to see. And in this scenario, I'm going to take out about 4 weaves or 4 intervals. If you guys need me to change this up so you can see better, please let me know. So I'm going to be holding that out with even sections with 4 intervals within that section. 1, 2, actually 3, sorry. It's 4 highlights, 3 intervals. And with even distribution, even tension in that section, I'm going to be holding it down here, making sure not to pinch. And then I'm going to start to back comb from about midsection up. As soon as I start to feel tension, I'm going to release the comb, come on top of that tease, back comb, back in front, and back up, just to keep my section and my back comb in place. It's moments like this where I realize how much I value my assistant. I haven't folded a foil. Actually, it's embarrassing to say.
It's good sometimes to go back to the basics, Philip.
Yeah.
It is, especially now. I'm so eager to work. I've been so excited about this live because it's been a legitimate opportunity for me to create and be visual for somebody,
Yes.
So after I get done saturating my section and making sure that my section is adhering to the foil, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I get really light-handed and just start to feather that product upwards and almost create a V pattern, because I like to retain depth in the middle of that section, because again, if I don't really create a harsh line, I don't have to remove a harsh line when it comes time to. I've heard a lot of people say, which is completely fine, because to each their own. They're like, well, I'd rather tone and not have to necessarily worry about warmth when it comes time to remove any soft lines made. But at the same time, I think it's all about how you approach it from beginning to end, because what I like to do is, let's say because I feathered and left a V here to avoid a harsh line, as I'm taking out, there is a little bit of warmth in this area. What I would do is remove my foil and take any residual product and just feather it up lightly with my fingers right over those orange lines for an additional 5 to 10 minutes. Knocks them right out of the park and gives you the softness.
Nice. Philip, we have a couple questions that have come through. The first is, do you back comb the entire section or just the base?
So I back home the entire section or just?
So I think if you could just remind everyone where you start, where you place the comb on your section to begin your back combing.
Okay, absolutely. So again, kind of going back to how I determine where I want to see my back combing. The back combing is all about how much softness do you want to see. That's what back combing does. When you think about what back combing is actually doing, and that's the biggest thing when it comes to hair, because I've been watching YouTube tutorials day and night since I started doing this, and I realized so many times I'm not able to necessarily recreate exactly what I saw, because it's not about what you do, it's about why you do it. So you need to know why you're back combing, not just going in and back combing because you think you should. When you're back combing, you have to realize the more hair I remove, the more soft my highlights are going to be. Versus if I start that highlight, or if I start that back combing from my midsection, I'm going to create probably 50-50. So I'm going to have 50% of a highlight, and once that hair comes back down into play and releases from that back comb, I'm going to have 50% highlight, 50% natural hair. And if I barely back comb just up here, again, it's going to be about 25% natural hair, 75% highlight. So just think through, what's my goal? Am I looking for 90% blonde, 50% blonde, 10% blonde? And that'll automatically give you the ability to gain where in your you start to back.
Nice. Excellent. And then do you always use a board, and why?
You know what? I always use a board now because it gives you structure, it gives you stability and durability when it comes to putting that light on the foils. You know, I just find by doing it like this, sometimes the foil slipping, it gives you more control. And so I like to be in control when it comes to work. Because I'm better able to determine what the outcome is going to be. The more in control I am, the more I can control the outcome. So, you know, that board does exactly that. When I put that board under, I know my foil is going to be really tight up against the scalp, and I'm going to have a hard surface underneath my section, so I know that my saturation is going to be there. And saturation is so important. And that's where the board really comes in.
Nice. And how long does it generally take you to place all your foils?
That's an awesome question. So, so again, you know, I'm fortunate enough to work with an assistant. So it's a little bit more difficult for me to answer that without one. But, you know, having somebody hand me the board with the foil already on it will probably save me anywhere, probably about 15 minutes in an application. I generally get through a full application in about 45 minutes.
Right.
With an assistant. But this is the thing, you know, I know we're eager to make money and the money's there, and it's like, you know, like, let's flip them in and out. But not to sound cliche, I don't do this for the money. I do it for the clients. I do it for the outcome. I do it for the result. And so, you know, I heard early on, it's always better to put a steak on the grill and slow cook it versus throw it in the microwave.
Yeah.
So I don't really focus on time as much as I do my client.
Yeah. Excellent.
And Philip, the salon you work at, is it, because I actually should know this, but I don't. Do you work in a like salon, commission salon? Do you have your own studio? Like what is your business model?
I opened it in August of 2017, and it's a small salon.
That's what okay.
Salon. And you know, I'm really passionate about doing hair. I'm not so passionate about managing people. And so for me, being able to keep my focus on my clients and on my craft, but at the same time work with my friends and be in my own space, the 4 chairs has been amazing.
Oh, nice. I love that because, you know, sometimes I feel like some stylists feel like the ultimate goal is to become a salon owner or even in a suite. And it's all about trying to figure out what makes you happy and working in that way, right? We spend a lot of time working. We should be happy doing it.
my father-in-law, he's the one responsible for getting me into hair. He's been doing hair for about 35 years. He told me, don't do it. And he owned a salon for 10 years prior to Hurricane Katrina. And I almost took his advice, but I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to hair. And so I had to do it anyways, just to learn for myself. And I did, but I think I took his advice a little bit and still did what I wanted to by only opening up a 4-chair salon. It was kind of that sweet medium, because even at managing the team that I have, it's not easy. It's really difficult, and doing hair has nothing to do with running a salon.
Absolutely. Our next guest will definitely agree with that.
Yes.
In fact, she did a whole show about that.
Absolutely.
I'll get to the profession. Okay, so here's where we're gonna get into that money piece. As you guys can see, I took about 2 foils here back to back with my weaves and my back combing. I stopped right here at the parietal ridge because I like to come in and start my money piece here and then come back and work horizontally up into the part. And so for this first section here, I'm just gonna take a solid panel. And with that solid panel, again, I'm making sure that I have even distribution, and then I'm holding that section taut. I'm gonna put my comb in here, and versus starting here in the middle with my back combing as I did with previous sections, I'm gonna start up a little bit higher, because again, the less hair that I remove and the higher up that I start, the more hair I'm gonna retain to highlight, and the bolder of an effect I'm gonna be able to achieve. So this is where I want a lot of my boldness. So I'm just gonna give it a light back comb. And for you guys that are familiar with working with mannequins, back combing on a mannequin is difficult to say the least. It's just not the same. So if you perfect it on here, you are good to go. Getting my board up close and tight. And versus in my previous sections where I really made sure to kind of stray away from getting that product up too high for softness, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive here. This is they call it the money piece for a few different reasons, but in my mind, it's because it's the first thing you see. If you have that really pretty face frame, you feel like you got your money's worth.
Yeah, you were talking earlier, Philip, about what people are, gravitate towards on your social media. And I was going through, I hate to bother anyone and say, hey, can I have a picture of you or what have you when I'm posting? So I go through everybody's, their feed or what have you. And it's true. Like I chose one where obviously you were working as well, which was great to have you in there, but having that depth, earlier you said it, you can't really have lightness without the darkness, right?
Yeah.
And so you need that you need that contradiction in color in order to see that, and that money piece does attract people, that's for sure.
It really does, and you can spend so much time on a blonde especially, and get so creative with your sectioning and your technique to remove hair. But if it's so blonde, you kind of lose track and you lose place, and before you know, you're kind of looking at this all over blonde with a little bit of like, I worked so hard on that. What did I do wrong? And I only know because I've done it so many times. It was that I didn't retain enough of the natural hair, which in my opinion is the beauty of hair.
Yeah, exactly. So to that point, as somebody's coming in for their retouch, let's say this client comes back 3 months, I think you said they come every 3 months. How would you approach the touch up, if you will, or the next appointment?
So personally, I find that I like to alternate between a balayage or a foliage method, as I'm demonstrating here today, and a baby-like technique. The reason I like to do that is because I find that if I balayage every time, I make my clients really blonde really fast in the long run, because inevitably I'm having to take large sections or panels and overlap. So I'm eventually left with little natural hair, and they're eventually asking for depth. or lowlights or something like that. So in this scenario, I would tell this client to come back in probably 12 to 16 weeks because I want her to get that grow out. I want her to have that luxury of not having to see me so soon. And so when she did come back, let's say that these face frame pieces here were somewhere around eyebrow to eye level, grown out with that much root, I could do baby lights to softly reconnect those bold highlights back into her natural regrowth without too much overlapping with a little bit more control.
Excellent.
I love that because it can be something when you're always doing balayage on them, they just start getting blonder and blonder, and then it goes back to what you said with the pop, with that depth, you know, and like without darkness there can't be light. I wrote that down too. It's a good one.
I had a big period of time, a large period of time of clients coming back asking for low lights and more depth. I'm like,
yes.
What happened to me doing like blonding? It was so fun for a while, and I realized it was because I loved balayage so much that I was doing it every time, despite what actually needed to be done.
Nice. Right. Hot tip for everyone out there, I think. What we've learned a lot from Philip is that he was working really, really hard, learned from the Brazilians how to take it easy a little bit, and save himself a little bit of that work, and don't overwork things, because then you end up maybe taking out some of that darkness, which is exactly what you need in order to see the light. Don't make it so hard on yourself. I love all these hot tips, Philip.
Absolutely.
Me too. Do you ever do a partial, Philip, or do you always do a full?
I'll absolutely do a partial because, Alfredo, you know this. Somebody can come in and they can request any service they want, but it's our job to tell them what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so if you schedule a balayage or a full with me, but you come in and you only need a partial, it's my job to say, hey, your balayage or your this ombre looking color that you have now actually looks beautiful. You just need a few little things to connect it. I always say in my classes, it's like if I go to the doctor, it's not really my job to tell or if I was getting surgery, it would be my job to tell the doctor, like, you need to use this scalpel and you need to do this. It's really our job. This is actually what needs to be done and why. So I do partials all the time when necessary.
That's funny.
I love that.
I tell my doctor what to do.
I love when the doctor though tells me you don't need this, because then I trust them more.
Oh,
if
man.
my doctor agrees with me, I'm going to go to a different doctor. If he prescribes me the medication I request, I'm going to probably go somewhere.
Well, yeah, I don't know about medication. I think I'm thinking more like Botox and stuff, which you guys are gonna all realize that I'm actually 171 years old when this is all over, and you see how old I really am. I've been hiding it from you all these years. But like if they say, oh, you don't need this or you don't need that, I always trust them more, because it's just the same with hair color. I think if they come in and if you're saying you don't need this, even though it would cost more money, you're going to look, your color's going to pop more, your highlights are going to show more if we do this technique. I think you earn a lot of client respect and client trust that way.
Of course.
I think if a client comes in and requests, I only want it to here, I only want this, I want this tone, and they realize you follow all the way through, even if they like it, subconsciously you're like, man, they really listened to me. They didn't do any of their own spin. They didn't really do anything too outside the box. Really, people, and this is for everybody watching, we actually like to be told what to do sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, we want somebody to be in control and assertive, because we learn to trust that person. We hand over our trust to that person, especially if they provide an option and it works out better than we imagined. I think that's what really creates a connection in any relationship.
Yeah.
Sheri's having a hard time with that one. She's like, no.
Right. I'm like, wait, I like to be told what to do. Let me think.
I'm
going to try it out later and see how that goes.
All right. You're going to try it out Okay. Well, I'll let you know how it
Probably
goes.
not, but
I love tattoos, and I've been to a few consultations, and I told the artist what I wanted, and he made suggestions that I was hesitant about because they weren't my original thoughts. But at the end of them, I was like, I'm so glad I trusted you to do this because it made it.
Yeah.
that happened with me in a tattoo as well, actually. It's my favorite tattoo is the one that wasn't my idea. Yeah.
Right. It always is. And you learn to love it in a completely different way. You almost respect it more. All right, so as of right now, please don't look at my shirt. I have more bleach on it than I do my mannequin. As of right now, I have 3 back-to-back panels from my hairline working in slight diagonal paths into the hairline. And all I'm doing differently on each of these panels is my first panel had no intervals. My second section had 2 intervals. My third had 3, and now we're going to remove 4 intervals. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's just so I get a little bit more softness and graduation as I move backwards into the head. And it's a little bit better for that grow out. We're not going to have 4 stark back-to-back lines of harshness when that regrowth kicks in. Because if I'm gonna create that here, what's the point of doing all the softness everywhere else, right?
Yep. Philip, we have another question, which is about your service charges as it relates to a partial versus a full.
Sure.
That's it. That's the only question.
What is it? I'm sorry. I was waiting for it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
My bad.
No worries. So how do you go about charging a partial versus a full?
Okay, so I get that question a lot too, and I'm sure that you guys as artists can relate to this. It strictly depends. I'll give you that answer, and I'll give you something a little bit more definitive. However, depending on how much hair you have and how long your hair is, it's really going to vary. Also, sometimes some people are going to require a little bit more time. For a partial, if you come in and if I do a face frame and I do a few off the part, you usually look around $250. And that'll include a blow dry. But again, if your hair is extremely long and it takes me as long to do a partial as it would to do a full on somebody else, I have to take that into consideration. Also, how much product am I using? And so there's never ever a definitive base price for anybody because everybody requires a little bit more or less attention.
Mm-hmm. So how do you go about creating a service menu? Do you create a service menu, and what type of verbiage do you use in order to indicate the differences for the client?
So I like to refer to my online booking system, and I know the one thing I'm not super proud about is that it does take away a little bit of the personal aspect of engaging with clients and booking everybody, but it is really difficult to personally connect and book every single client when you have a large clientele. So, and because I'm running such a small business, I'm basically responsible for doing everything myself. I don't really leave it up to my client, or excuse me, to book my clients, because only I personally in my mind know exactly how much attention that person requires. So yeah, remind me exactly where I was going with that. I got
No, that's okay. Is how do you go about creating a service menu that will communicate your
So what I'll do is booking through my my app, which is Vagaro. There's kind of like these base prices with an upside next to that. However, I don't take a lot of new clients, so fortunately, a lot of my clients know their prices. And when it comes to taking a new client these days, what I'll do is I'll do some type of virtual consultation with them, just so I can mark out an appropriate amount of time, and I'll give them an approximate price and let them know that it may vary depending on age.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
All right, so I have my 4 foils here in the front. Again, I have a solid panel. My second section with an interval removed. The next one with 2. The next one with 3. And as I move into get back to this parietal ridge area, can you guys see me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's frozen on my screen. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and back home and just kind of continue that exact same pattern that I had when I left off here before. How excited are you guys about getting back to work in the salon? Making sure that I have that midsection saturated really well and being light-handed as I go back up. Not creating any harsh lines that I'll have to remove through toning. And then coming in and just really saturating those midsections and ends really well. And then just kind of refining that one.
And then
in the back, go ahead. I'm sorry, Alfredo.
Oh, no. Go ahead. I was saying for normal for this, I know processing time differs, but you said you babysit it. What is the average for something like this for you?
So the way I work, again, kind of having my assistant, as soon as I'm done, we immediately start pulling out that foil. So I'll move on to somebody else during that process, and everybody's going to be a little bit different. There's really no average time. I have clients that I have in and out in an hour and a half. I have clients that don't leave for 4 hours, and that varies all day long. That's how I book really strategic.
Nice.
I do want to say that, here in the back that I showed you guys prior to starting this application, I did a root smudge at the top just to really soften up the entry highlights into the hair. I used the Redken Shades 5N, and I thought her base color here naturally was about a 6. I always like to drop it down to about 11. Just to get a little bit more coverage, especially when using the Shades EQ, because I find them to be a little bit more translucent than some of the other colors, which is great in some scenarios, but when I'm looking for coverage, I always go to that level. And then with the ends, I did tone with the Shades EQ 10 GI, which is a gold iridescent. And that's just like one of my favorite shades, the gold iridescent. I feel like it's that warmth with a little bit of coolness.
Yeah.
It gives you a really beautiful natural tone.
Love it. So we're a little over time today. So good. To wrap it up, what happened?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, so for this, the end result is the mannequin that you showed us in the beginning, correct? As far as mannequins go.
Correct. And I'm also going to be posting these results on our social media page here shortly. I do also want to let everybody know that, right now, during all of this, the COVID-19, the things that are going on, we're not able to go to our local distributors and pick up color. Also, these level 10 Shades EQ that I am working with, some of them are brand new, and you might not be able to get to your local distributor to get them, but you can go to SalonCentric's website and pick them up there beforehand if you'd like to.
In the U.S.
In the U.S., correct.
Yes.
In the US.
Just for our international friends.
Right. Excellent. So,
right.
Philip, you've done an amazing job. So many hot tips. I think you're going to show, I think I heard you say that you're going to show the mannequin on your social media page later, which I'm sure everybody will be super excited about. Remember to visit Philip's Instagram often. He has a lot to share, tons of knowledge, great hot tips, and will teach you how to work like a Brazilian.
Well, God, like a Philip, at Philip Foresto.
Like an at Philip Foresto, inspired by Brazilians.
Yes.
I want to say it was an absolute pleasure to be a part of this. I think what you guys are doing is absolutely great and powerful, and people right now could use it more than ever. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Philip. We were so excited to have you on. Thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it. Always the hearts.
Always the hearts. We love you, Philip. Thank you for everything. Thank you for inspiring everyone every day. You're awesome.
Thank you, likewise.
Thank you, Philip. Okay, like that's another one. I keep like one of my favorite parts about this selfishly is I get to see these amazing people that I look up to and that I see on social, but I don't ever get to actually see them educate because we're always running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So like,
do you know that that's because it's a true story about the chickens. I used to live on a farm when I was tiny. And if you don't do it right, which I'm vegan now, so I don't actually think about this, but they run around, there's a nerve, and they run. It's so sad. I see Tabatha in the green rooms freaking out, but you know, it's true. So maybe we could say, I don't know, we'll think of
like a crazy person. Just like a crazy person.
We'll think of a different saying.
I'm going to work on that. Give me.
Okay. All right.
24
there's
hours.
A few others of like, there's a million ways to blank a cat. And I'm like, how about there's a million ways to peel a cucumber?
Oh, I like that. There you go. I like that a lot.
Trying to find alternate ways to say these things. Because when you really think about them, you're like, oh, maybe that's not the best. But what is the best is so far this episode of R&B Live on Mondays. Philip had so many great hot tips and ways to be able to work through our blondes, making sure that they're beautiful. And I love that. And we have somebody coming up next who I have looked up to for a very, very, very long time. Obviously, one of my first experiences knowing her was through reality TV show. And I thought, ooh, she's tough, not sure. I'm not sure what she'd think of my salon if I brought her in here or our salon. And then, as we started I joined a brand, and she ended up later becoming affiliated with the Matrix team, had the opportunity to get to know her, see her perform on stages, see her share some information that I find very valuable. I'm a blue. And I'm
a blue too.
I'm sure. And not only does have I had the chance to be even more inspired by her, but everything that she's doing right now, giving so much of herself to the community every single day with one-on-one coaching sessions, and then also going live with coaching so that she can reach a broader audience. I know that she this is all on top of having her own things that she's going through on a daily basis. But being able to manage that and be there for the community, again, just such a beautiful, beautiful human that I get to that I admire so much, and that we get to have here today with us. So if we could please welcome the one, the only Tabatha Coffey.
Hi, Tabatha.
Hi, Tabatha.
I'm so excited. Thank you.
I'm so excited. I love your glasses.
They're not as fabulous as yours, but I put on a little sparkle for you.
I don't know. I think they're fabulous. And you've got some fabulous shoes that when I see you walk on stage, I'm like, I need those.
Yeah, not today, but thank you.
That's okay. So,
are we wearing shoes? Raise your hand if you're wearing shoes. Sorry, I'm not wearing shoes, actually. Is anyone? No. Sheri?
Well, I had flip-flops on, but now I'm seated like, with my legs crossed on the couch. So not right now, no.
Just doing a check.
Making sure you're okay. Well, Tabatha, thank you for joining us today. As I know you've had lots of communication with Alfredo, and I've been checking out all of the things that you've been doing on social media and helping the community. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, want to say thank you because, you're a beacon to many. Like you're this strength with real talk while being compassionate. It's like all of these, it's things that people need right now from leadership. And I think you embody all of those things. And I just want to say thank you because what you give is so much. And I know it's because you want to, I know all of those things, but it doesn't mean I don't want to take just a minute and celebrate you and thank you for all that you're doing. And
Thank you.
yeah.
It means a lot.
Gonna say
It's
it.
we're going through it, right? And our industry is really going through it. And all I know to do is to show up. That's
Yeah.
all I can really feel like I'm contributing at the moment is just to keep showing up and supporting people and answering questions and maybe having a laugh and sharing some age and dinosaurness, as I call myself.
No, not at all. And but I hear you because earlier Alfredo said, "Well, you said this earlier," and I was going to say that's because I'm older than you. Like that's why you think some of the things that I say are interesting or wise because I'm older. It's like when your mom used to say, blah blah.
I just
blah.
told you guys I was 171 years old. I'm older than
Yeah,
See?
well, I've got to be 480 then, so shh, calm it
Yeah,
down.
he should stop saying those things, right? So I don't even know where to start because I feel like I could
Yeah.
keep you on here all day long, Tabatha, but I think I guess I sort of talked about what you've been doing with the community, but is there I know that you also you take all of this in and you also sort of again go to social media to be able to guide the masses. So and we are at this very interesting place. I talk about the stages of change, which I know you know. And, back in March, we were talking about them as it relates to everyone getting ready for this lockdown, if you will. And now we're in this place where varying degrees of releasing the lockdown. And there's a lot of emotion around that as well. And it's another moment for stages of change. And so, what would you want to share? What's your observations and what would you want to share with the community right now that's out there in various stages of change?
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that keep coming up with everyone that I talk to, but in different ways. So everyone is scared, right? We're all scared because it's new and it's different and we haven't been through this before and we don't have the muscle memory because it's new. So we haven't built up that muscle memory to know quite what this is or how to handle it. So everyone is doing the best they can, right? And
Yeah.
it's really important
Yes.
that people realize that and realize that there is no playbook for this. We don't really know. We're all working on our gut instinct and our intuition and guidance from the people that need to guide us, but there's no hard and fast rule for this. The other thing that keeps coming up is worth. And that's been really interesting because it comes up in different ways for different people that I speak to. So some of the worth comes up that I don't feel worthy because I've been told I'm non-essential. So
Mm.
I don't feel like I'm valuable. So that is a big one that many of us are feeling. The other one that comes up is, will people still think I'm worth it? Will they still value me when I go back and open my doors? Will clients want to come to me and have the money to spend with me or think that they still want to spend time in my chair? Am I valuable enough in their lives for them to keep coming and seeing me? And then the third worth that came up, which has been really interesting, is people that aren't okay because no one's okay with this, but maybe they're better than some others. Maybe they have had some more savings to dip into. Maybe they work in a smaller kind of business. Their setup is different, so they don't have staff to worry about. They don't have some of the other challenges. and they're using this time as an expansion of their knowledge and their education and enjoying their children and their families, and still working in their business, or with doing branding and things, but they're not maybe as financially strapped to some other people. And that comes up, like, how am I okay that my friend isn't okay? How am I worth it when someone else isn't worth it? So it's been a lot to unpack, honestly, with speaking to hairdressers.
Okay.
I try and communicate personally with about 10, 15. Some days I don't sleep very well lately, so 20 hairdressers a day, and we have private conversations. And it really is this worth and value that keeps coming up all the time.
Yeah. And so it's so interesting. So I'm trying, I think you know me, and if you don't know me, I cry all the time. So, and usually on these, Alfredo afterwards will be like, "Oh, I saw you going down," and because it breaks my heart to think anybody would think because they're deemed as a non-essential worker that it impacts their self-confidence, right? But it's like that just hit me really, really hard, because of course it's not that they're not a sin. It's so 86% of women would rather see their and trust their hairdresser more than they'd trust an actual therapist, right? So
We're so essential.
Yeah.
We're so essential. We're just not essential now because it's
Yeah.
not quite safe. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I do with the studies that I have been doing. And when I work with clients and I coach them, we reframe it. So we kind of unpack all the things that you're
Great.
feeling, because they're all really valid and should be looked at, right? So that you can feel them. They shouldn't be put away. You need to feel your way through them. But then
Yeah.
we unpack them and just look at a different way to look at it. So we are so essential. Our clients are asking us for house calls and to open our salon, and we can't wait to see you. I can't wait to get my regrowth done. I miss you so much. But we've been told we're non-essential, and that has started to weigh on people's perception of themselves. And that has been really challenging for me, because we need to own our worth and do it in a much broader aspect. Yes, we're hairdressers and we celebrate this industry and it's amazing, and we're artists and creatives and we have so much to bring to society, but we're also individuals that are artistic, and we can be artistic without it having to be hair, and we're creatives and we can be creative even if we can't work on a client right now. And we're strong men and women, and we can find strength in different ways even if we can't spread that with our clients. And we need to kind of reframe that and work on it in a different way, because it has been, look, really just upsetting to talk to people and for them to say to me, I don't feel like I'm valuable. You're so valuable. I know that, right? I know you're valuable. You guys know that they're valuable. And we know how incredibly valuable this industry is and how much each and every person in it has to contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You got her this time, but rightfully so. Even I feel, I mean, it's how do we
Yeah.
reframe that to our industry and let them know that you are so essential and you're so valuable, that it's such a broad thing to say you're non-essential, right? It's like,
it's the word, right? It's just that
Yes.
word.
It is the word, which
it's like you say, Sheri, the setup, like it's all in the setup.
setup.
I say that a lot on here with you because it's something that stuck with me that you've said to me in many different scenarios. And how do we reset that up? Because it is a poor setup. If you think about, saying that phrase or telling somebody that, it can affect your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Here's the other side that I see. And Philip said it before, where, when there's darkness, then you have to have light.
Yes.
Right. And that's true in life as well.
In life, yes.
And I feel like there is so much great that will come from all of this. And it's really awful to go through it, and it's it's really horrible for everyone, and so many people have gone through so much loss, but there's so much good the other side of it. As a community and an industry, we've really come together in ways that I've never seen before. We also have clients reaching out. I've had so many messages on my social media from clients telling me how much they love their hairdresser, how much they miss their hairdresser, what a contribution to their life that their, beauty professional makes. I've had clients reach out and tell me that they budget for their appointment anyway, so they're sending money to their stylist, and they're keeping that going to make sure that they're okay. They're checking in with them. So there's so many great things coming out of this, and I believe will continue. Even the way we do business, I think we'll start to do business in a smarter way. That is a little bit easier, that we will have a little bit more flexibility, that we will do things a little bit differently, and they're all good things. And I think the other side of it, even though some people may be struggling with feeling their worth and their value now, the other side of it, they will see how valuable they are, and they will see their worth, and we will look at the ways that we can continue this industry connection that we've made with each other, but also the connection with our clients, and keep expanding on that. And I think there's a lot of really interesting and great business opportunities there as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Gordon Miller from Hairbrained, he shared this quote with me. We were on a call, and I think it came from Winston Churchill. And it's a bit when you first hear it, but it's never let a good crisis go to waste. And I sort of think, in this same vein is like we all are in, we're calling it a global crisis, a global pandemic. And so it is our opportunity as individuals to not let it go to waste. Like, who are we going to become when this is over, right?
Yep.
So what kind of advice would you give to everyone out there who is in crisis to help them, sort of guide and direct them to not let this crisis go to waste, if you will?
I think one of the things that's really important is to keep structure. And it's really easy to not have any structure now. So when you don't have that routine and you don't have that structure, it's really easy just to say, I'm going to sit on the sofa and watch Netflix all day and eat bonbons.
Popcorn.
I don't know. Yeah, there you go. I couldn't get the word out. I was like, what am I eating? Carrot sticks. And then the problem is that you start to get into that routine, and we do have muscle memory, right? Just like our body has muscle memory from going to the gym, our brain has muscle memory as well. And we truly believe what we feed our mind and the conversations we have with each other, right? And the conversations we have with ourselves, because all of us, I don't care who you are and you're not crazy, we all talk to ourselves. We all talk to ourselves all the time, right?
I thought I was the only
Constantly.
one.
So when you're saying these negative things, or when what's the point of getting up today? I've got nothing to do anyway. What does it matter? I've already eaten, 3 bags of popcorn. I'll have another one. What does it matter if I do this? No one's going to see me, right? When we do that, it becomes this habit. And then that becomes a problem to break. So having structure is really important, having positive and looking for the good. There is good in everything. Even when it's a global pandemic and there's a lot of bad things going on, there's so much good out there as well. Look for that good. Show gratitude. It's one of the quickest ways to change a negative thought into a positive one, is when you show gratitude, when you celebrate that. Even if it's a really small thing, I'm grateful for that cup of tea I just had. It was delicious, right? You don't need to be disingenuous about it, but it's really important. And keep connecting. I keep telling business owners that I talk to, keep talking to your clients, keep talking to your team, set up the game plan of what it's going to look like when we come out of this. Get excited about it, because we're going to see our clients again. We're going to see our friends and our staff again. That's really exciting. Put all this newfound education into practice. Get excited about upskilling yourself and taking those new skills back into the salon. Start thinking about that and dreaming about it and putting that plan together. And it gives you this positive focus to put your energy on. So the negative is always a powerful magnet. right? It's always a powerful attractor to sit there. You just need to keep feeding the good things in to disrupt that negative brain pattern. And then you start to focus on the positive.
Yeah, that's great, Tabatha. And I know,
So good.
well, I don't know that you know, but I am a certified pastoral counselor and I was studying to be a minister, which I
know
don't
that.
think, I know Alfredo's going to be like, what? But,
I
and,
knew.
you know, it's there's a lot of great things that I've learned and I'm super grateful for, you know, resources, sort of habits that I can create to help myself through these times. And yet I still have a coach that I connect with regularly. And, you know, even though we know these things, right, we have these good habits that we learned at some point, and then somewhere along the way life got busy and then we forget them. But I was on a session with him on Friday and he was just reminding me, you know, I do gratitude every morning, which we've talked about on these, either this or on lives, like everybody getting up and the first thing you do is you do a gratitude exercise. But then he was saying, okay, and do you celebrate your wins at the end of every day? And I was like, no. No. Because when's the last win you celebrated? I'm like, a personal win? And you know, he's like, okay, here we go. Let's remind you. And I think it's exactly what you're saying, right? Is that people, if we could have the gratitude, and then at the end of the day, reminding ourselves to say, what were the wins that I had today?
Mm-hmm.
Because how long do we spend thinking about the thing that we didn't do well? Versus how long do we spend thinking about the thing that we did do well and that we should celebrate? And we've got to sort of feed our subconscious with the positive things.
100%. I do gratitude in the morning and I do what went well or what I'm grateful for at the end of the day. That's my first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and what I give to my clients to do. And the win at the end of the day, it goes back to worth, right? Because we don't often celebrate ourselves and the things we do. We negate it and go, well, that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. You know, that's what's expected of me. We do all of those things to negate it. But sometimes at the end of the day, if you, especially now, you may not have a lot of big things going on, but you can still, a win is still getting up and being productive. A win is still making yourself go for that walk or eating healthy or writing in your gratitude journal in the morning is still a win, right? You're still celebrating yourself and the fact that you showed up and you took care of yourself. And that's something that is really important for all of us to do. And I think especially now, and notoriously, we know this, as hairdressers, we're kind of crappy with taking care of ourselves sometimes, right? It's always about our clients. So it's normally clients first and then our team, right? If we have a team, and then it will be our family and our friends and everyone else. And somewhere down the bottom, we're like, oh yeah, I haven't gone to the bathroom all day. Oh, I haven't eaten for a couple of days. Oh, I haven't done this. And then we think of ourselves. So it's really important to think of ourselves anyway, because for me, if you don't think of yourself and the goals you have and what you want, you can't get the best out of yourself. And that means you're not getting the best out of anyone else either.
I love that. I have a question. Well, first of all, I did get my journal. Sheri told me to get a journal over the weekend, so I did get my journal because she was like, we had a very similar conversation of this on Friday night. Kind of had like a recap of our week, and but my question for you is because it got me thinking. Because negative, it's easy sometimes for us when we get on that negative train, right? To just sit in it and just take it and keep going, and those habits. When we're talking to others, other hairstylists, you're talking to so many people every day. And when you encounter someone who's in that space, which is, we're all, like you said, this is a hard time. And a lot of people, it's easy to get caught up in it. I know I've been caught up in it and gotten out of it. What are your tips on how to deal with someone by not negating their feelings, like letting them own where they're at, but also not like trying to turn it around, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, empathy is we all have it. It's a hard thing to employ sometimes, right? To actually put it out there. It's hard. And a lot of people think that empathy is feeling sorry for someone. It's not. It's just standing in their shoes for a minute and looking at their map and going, okay, yeah, I can totally understand why you're angry, mad, sad, frustrated, whatever it is that you're feeling. And that's what it is. It's listening to someone with their negativity and then reframing it. So asking them the question, but has anything good happened? Have you enjoyed anything? Have you found any positive thing come from this? And it's not negating what they've said, it's just changing their mindset. We have, and it is crazy, and we all know this, we don't always put it into action. We can change our thoughts in a second, and we have control over that.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to keep the negativity going, as you said, Alfredo, because it's just there. And then you can keep, right? We've got this big old box of negative, and we can keep pulling things out and throwing them out until the cows come home. And sometimes it's hard to disrupt that. But all it takes is one thought, one positive action, but isn't it beautiful outside today? Right? Just to kind of change that mindset and help someone else to change that mindset as well, because sometimes it's the questions you ask, right? The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life.
Yeah.
So if you ask someone a really quality question, then it can help change their mindset as well to look at things a little bit differently.
Nice. Excellent.
That. Thank you.
You were talking about goals, like being able to say, well, I got that goal of eating healthy today, or getting out of bed, or getting out of my pajamas, whatever it is, putting on shoes, whatever it may be. But if you were to say, like right now, because I think people have all of this time, if they haven't already come out of their lockdown and are back to salons, how often can you just talk about goal setting for a second? How do you recommend for people to do goal setting? Like, what framework do you provide them?
So I normally break it down personal, because there are different goals. So we all have personal goals that we'd like to work on, normally, losing weight, getting fit, taking care of ourselves in a different way. We have professional goals that we want to work on. So getting, doing a photo shoot, putting yourself in Naha, something like that. And then often we have financial goals that don't necessarily fit in those personal work goals. So I get people to break it down and get really specific. The more clarity you have, the easier it is to get to that end result. Doesn't matter what it is. So you need to get really clear. The other thing that I always ask people is, why do you want that? Why is always such a great question, because often people will say, oh, well, I want to make this amount of money. And when you say to them, okay, but how is your life going to change when that happens? What is going to happen for you? They start to talk about other people. Oh, my kids can do this. My husband doesn't have to work as hard. My staff can do this. So it's not personal. They're doing it for someone else. And when you do it for someone else, although it's really noble and really amazing and really great, it doesn't mean that you're doing it for you and you're not going to have the same motivation. When you're really doing it for you and you can picture how your life is going to look different, right? I'm saving because I want to go to India. And you focus on it, you study about India, you get everything all ready. You're so motivated and you've made the connection from A to Z and all the steps that you need to take in between, so you can help to keep yourself on track. So I think setting goals is great, but we've all done it, right? At like New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But there's never that connection from the goal to what we're actually changing and why we want to change it, that we follow through those steps. And celebrate those little things, right? Nothing changes overnight except a pandemic, right? That's the only thing that turns the lights off. So nothing changes overnight. So give yourself those little celebrations. You know what? Today, I didn't eat my Cadbury's Caramello. It's a good day, right? And give yourself those little wins as you get through it, instead of beating yourself with a stick going, oh my God, I had a square of chocolate, right? Celebrate. Today I only had one square instead of the whole block. Kudos to me. Good job.
Can you see me at night? How did you know that?
because it's my new love affair, but we've just broken up. So,
Oh, really? Chocolate, Cadbury.
you know what? I don't eat dairy, and I have given up chocolate, and it's been a really long time since I have indulged. And I've really been indulging. We've had like this mega affair, Cadbury's Caramello and I, straight out of the freezer and nice and cold and creamy. We've now broken up and we've parted our separate ways. We still adore each other. We're just not spending any time together anymore.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it. I did order some cookies and then was very glad that I ate them all and now don't have any more in my house. I'm like, don't reorder the cookies.
What we have in our fridge right now is very, very important, I think.
I think so too.
If it's there, I'm going to go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Alfredo, for as trim and fit as he looks, he eats a lot every meeting. I'm like, are you eating again? What's going on? So
I eat like small portions throughout the day. It's good for the
yes.
Good for
Tabatha, I have a question about so if you don't know, Tabatha does this amazing thing about personalities, and it's about, your colors, and each color has these, personalities, I would say these very amazing positive attributes, as well as like how maybe you perform or act under stress, etc. And let me ask, do you have a video somewhere that if somebody has not been able to attend one of your programs that they could go see that?
I don't, but I am trying to work on it. But I'm, as Alfredo knows, and you do too, Sheri, I'm not very good with technology sometimes. So I'm really trying to break it down into the colors. I think it would be really helpful. It's part of, I got my master's degree last year. It's part of my master's degree I did. It's from a psychologist. It really, for me, I love teaching that class, and it's such a great way for communication, for us to communicate with other people in our salon and our clients and each other and ourselves, and find out our strengths and limitations. And I was really excited last week. Sorry, everyone. We have a team page for Matrix, for all our Matrix peeps, which I love.
Yeah.
And I did a class on there last week. For all the colors of going through each color of the personality during adversity and what that looks like, and the different things it brings up for everyone to try and navigate through all of these times.
Okay, we don't have enough time for you to do it. How could we do that?
Next time. Next time I'll come back and we'll do a little abridged color.
How long do you need? How long would we need for that?
We could do it in 45 minutes, and then everyone could send me some social media questions, and I could just answer them a little bit more in depth. We could just do like a top line of the different personalities and how they communicate with each other, and the strengths and the limitations. And the limitations aren't bad, you guys. It's all of us. We all have things that are our stumbling blocks and our roadblocks, but when we're aware of them and when we know what they are, it just makes it much easier to kind of keep the river flowing around the blockages and keep everything moving in the right direction.
I would love it if we did it.
It's a little bit of a blind spot.
I learned so much from that. And I still use it. I still use what I learned from hearing you talk about it in day-to-day life when you meet people, because it's like in all situations, not only salon, it's like life, period.
Yeah, it really is. And we all communicate all the time, right?
Yeah.
So we're always communicating with everyone, and especially with our clients. And when we have a lot of team members in a salon, all those different, and I know business owners are like, oh, that one never listens to me, or that one, never follows the rules and won't do anything that I ask them to do. Why? And it's often just the approach that we take, especially when you hear the colors. You're like, oh, you're a red and that person's a yellow. That's why. You need to change that question a little bit.
Well, I'm not looking at the calendar in front of me, but I think that maybe even if a week from Thursday, I don't know who's on for our live. Oh, you do a 1:00 live though, so that wouldn't work. All right, we'll figure it out.
I can move my 1 o'clock live. My coffee with Coffey, they're fine. We will jump on early and tell everyone to come over here. Let me know.
Okay, we'll let you know because I'd love to make that happen. Just I think it'd be very good, like for everyone to understand who they are, be able to understand even if we could give a quick way to identify our clients, you know, so
100%.
that
We can
help them.
we
Okay.
can do like the top 3 or 4 questions of what color are you, or how really quick ways to identify where someone falls with
Great.
the color, and then just quick ways of being able to communicate with that person and kind of get over those stumbling blocks that we all have with certain personality types.
We'll figure it out, or even on here, so it's like then it lives on YouTube, so they can see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll go back.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Our calendar and figure that out. If there was just, 1 or 2 other things you'd want to share, communicate with those that are watching today and those that come back and visit this video, what would that be?
So I'm going to talk like a dinosaur now, and someone that's been in the industry since I was 14 years old. So it's 30 a lot years, and has gone through, obviously none of us have gone through this, but I've gone through owning a business in September 11th. I've gone through recession. I've gone through, the area that I live in New Jersey and where my salon was, having so many people affected by the recession because most of them were stockbrokers, but also September 11th. I had an entire staff walk out of my salon once. Everyone came to me on Saturday and resigned and walked out, and I had no one to open the doors on Monday. So, and we all have those stories, right? We all do. None of us are an island. We all have different stories and adversity and challenges and things that we've been through. And for me, and I know this to be true for all of you that are watching this, I know that you can get through this. I know you can. And I know it feels really challenging at some times, and I know it feels like you don't know if you can get through, and I know it feels like there is just no way that everything is going to work out. But I promise you, it may not work out the way you thought it would, but something will work out. You will be okay. You are supported by an amazing industry. Your clients do miss you. Things are going to change. That doesn't mean they're going to be bad. They're just going to change, right? And it's keeping that open mind and realizing that things will not be 100% the way they were before, and that's okay. That can be a good thing. There can be a lot of light that comes from that. There can be a lot of opportunity that comes from that, and there can be a lot of good that comes from that. And to keep having conversations, keep communicating with your team, communicate with your clients, communicate with each other, right? Reach out to someone that you admire in the industry, or a friend, or reach out to me. I'm there all the time, right? But reach out to someone and realize that this is not your fault. That's something that a lot of people have said to me as well, is I feel like, I'm losing clients, or I feel like my business is on hold and somehow I screwed up. You didn't. This is an unforeseen force that we didn't know was going to happen, and there really was no way for us to plan. What we do now is we learn from this. We learn from the challenges. We learn from the things that have happened. When we move forward, we come back stronger. We save in a different way. We set up our futures in a different way. We may restructure and reformalize our business in a different way. We learn much more about our numbers, right? And what we need to do to safeguard ourselves. And they're good things. They're positive things. But you haven't done anything wrong, and stay strong and know that we will get through it. And I truly, truly believe that, as trite as it might sound.
No, it doesn't. My mom says I've shared this with Alfredo that you can get through anything so long as you know it's coming to an end. And we don't necessarily know when this is going to end, but I do think that we know we've got to stay strong with the fact that we are going to get through it, and to use the time, as we said earlier, to sort of think about those things. To your point, what are we going to do better when we come
Mhm.
out of this? How are we going to use this as an opportunity to grow and be even stronger? There's so many amazing comments on here. Tabitha, there, people need Tabitha therapy. Yes. JC Penney Salons needs you. There's lots of, yes, self goals. Somebody has a lot of apples in the fridge. That's good. It's good for you to have. That's
That's
good for
good.
you.
That's really good.
And then people can't wait to hear about people can't wait to hear about the colors. We do have one question here, which is, what mistakes do you think salon owners are making today, and what is your best advice for success?
So
Not a
if
small
we
question.
take
It's a
if
good
we
one.
I
take
know, like,
the first part, what mistakes are salon owners making today is some salon owners aren't communicating enough with anyone. So they're not communicating enough with their team, if they
Yes.
have a team, and they're not communicating enough with their clients to talk about what it's going to look like when they come out of this. So everyone should be putting their game plan in place, especially if they haven't opened yet. What is a reopening going to look like? What am I going to need? Have I ordered my product because there could be a delay on it? Am I going to do a video? Yes, you are. To show my clients what it's going to look like when they come into the salon and the procedures we're going to do so they feel comfortable. That
Nice.
will set you up for success, but also your clients. So
mm,
Yeah.
they're the things that we need to be looking at as business owners. Let's get this plan in place. Let's communicate it with our staff, communicate it with our clients, and make sure we have everything we need, all the products ordered, all the PPE we need, and also the structure that we need, the timing. We may need to rework our service menus. We may need to rework our timing slots. And there's a lot of different advice out there. I've got a few different ideas as well that we can talk about at another point of how to make that happen. Um, Look, success, that's a big one. First, for me, it comes down to passion. I can't be successful in anything. It's like when we were talking about the goals, right? When Sheri asked me about goals, I
yeah.
can't make a goal happen if I'm not really passionate about it and I'm not emotionally connected to it. I can't be successful in my business, my life, my salon, my relationship, my friendship, or anything else if I'm not emotionally invested and passionate about it.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
passion gives you drive, and it gives you edge, and it gives you different ways to look at questions, and it gives you a different quality of a question, and it gives you the motivation, even if you hit a little bit of a roadblock, to keep going and climb over that fence and keep it moving. And for me, success is really because I'm passionate about what I do, and because I always want to learn and share and help other people and support other people and grow personally and help others grow. That will always keep me moving forward, because I don't even think I've hit success yet, right? I
No.
don't even know what that is. If you think you've hit it, then that, to me, that means you're going to stop and you're going
Yeah.
to sit back and kind of rest on something. So it's an endless, consistent wheel, which is great because it's a path. It's not a destination. It's a
Hmm.
journey that keeps going all the time when you're truly passionate about something.
I
Yeah, I
love
love. Yeah, and I love what you said about, because I keep thinking in my mind, I have a lot of conversations that I keep asking everybody to do their Facebook consultations, right? Or virtual
mhm.
consultations. And if you think about, if I were thinking about clients that would have come in at the beginning, and then as I'm starting to get ready to reopen my salon, essentially I would have seen them twice, right?
Hmm.
And I think to myself, okay, well, the first appointment should have been still happened, right? Virtually, whereby I help walk them through whatever it is that they need to get through in order to have their virtual
Mm-hmm.
meetings that they're having where they feel like they need to look good, or for their partner or whatever. And then the next one is to prepare. I do think that we could be busier.
Yeah,
As
and
stylists, we could have kept all of our appointments the way that they were and had them virtually. And, I've talked with my sister, who's a hairdresser, about that, and a few others who are doing that. And, you layer on top of that, if you are a salon owner, or even if you're independent, all the things that you need to do to build your business. And, maybe that first week of binging the Netflix was a good one with some whatever you were eating, but now is time to make sure that those connections, exactly what you said, are still happening.
and it's working on your business, even if you
Yeah.
can't work in your business. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
virtual consultations, especially now, we need to keep doing them even more so, because that will help to cut down on
Right.
contact when
Yep.
we're in the salon. So if we want to keep social
Absolutely.
distancing, which could be required, right? We know that we need to be close to our clients. That's fine. We're going to do it in a safe way with all the licensed regulations that we've been taught, and we're going to implement them. But if we can cut down on that and have a virtual consultation, right? So Sheri and I can have a consultation virtually, talk about her hair, all the things that she needs, everything that she wants. The only thing that's missing is my hands in her hair, but
Mhm.
we've already communicated. So when she comes in, we just right into hair, and then
Mhm.
going on to the service, instead of having that 20
Yes.
25-minute connection with each other in person. And it's a great way to be able to keep yourself on track when you go back to the salon, for those that are worried about not being able to service enough clients, right, to be able to make it financially feasible for them, especially if we can't double book. So it's a great way to keep that money income coming in, but also a great way so that you don't feel overwhelmed with having to have all of those consultations. If you have them virtually, you
Yep.
can also get out of the way, and I mean that in a kind way, some of that personal connection
Yes.
of what happened to you while this was over. Let me hear your stuff, because I want to hear it. I care
Yeah.
about you. And then we can just go to work when they're in the salon.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that you just said that, because I don't know why it made me think of this, but it's so true. Like I've been very fortunate. I haven't had very many surgeries in my life, but I had a minor knee, like a torn muscle surgery late last year. And the doctor called me a week before, told me everything that was going to happen, asked me if I had any questions, told me what to expect, told me what they were going to prescribe me to, afterwards, and what I needed to do in a week after. And then you come in and you just go right into it. You know what I mean? They prep you and you go in. So it was just, when I was thinking about that, having, we need to do it virtually. He did it over the phone. I think as hairstylists, you do need to see, like on whatever it is that you're
Yeah,
using
I
to
agree.
virtually communicate. But it's just a new way of working, like you said.
It's also that comfort for clients.
Yeah.
So the unknown is scary, right? The
Mhm.
new is scary, because we're human. None of us like change very much. So, and some of us are really resistant to it. So when we can set a client up for success, it also sets up us in a really great way, so we're comfortable as well. But when a client knows you have to stand outside and I will text you when it's time to come in, right?
Yeah.
We're going to automate more. We're going
Yeah.
to not take cash anymore. We're going to ask you to wear a mask. We're going to ask you to wash your hands. When they see it, right? So that's why I think a video is great of what the process is going to
Yes.
look
Mhm.
like when
Good
you come
idea.
into your business. So when they see it, when they're told it, and then you can post it in the salon or in the window or however you want to do it as well, and reinforce that message. It gives a client a minute to process it. So when they come in, they're not like, oh my God, why are you wearing a mask? Are you not
Yeah.
feeling well today? Oh my God, this is so weird, right?
Yeah.
They know the setup, and they're going to be much more open and comfortable. And you've already had this great virtual consultation with
Yeah.
them, and
Yeah.
they're excited to see you.
Yep, exactly. It's all in the setup. See, Alfredo, it comes back.
Yeah,
It comes
100%.
back to that. Somebody says you're
it's
very
so true.
talented and gorgeous, which I
Oh,
concur with
Agree.
thank you.
100%. And then yeah, lots of Tabatha's my hero. Agree, agree. And then Sierra has been binging on Tabitha's salon takeover all week. So
Good girl.
Thank you, Bravo. It's been on at really obscure times, but also thank you, Serena. It's on like all wackadoo times now. Good for all us insomniacs.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Tabatha, for all of your wisdom, for all of your light and your sparkles that you bring to the table every single day, for doing what you do every day with the individuals as well as on social media, and in advance for coming back and teaching all of us what color we are, how to recognize it in somebody else, how to help our clients and our friends through this time by recognizing their color, meaning not their color on their head, but the color of personality that they are, and being such a positive inspiration in the industry. We really, really love you a lot and appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, Sheri, and thank you, Alfredo.
Thank you
This was
so
so
much,
much fun, and thank
Tabatha.
you, everyone, for watching.
Yay! Hearts
Loved
to
having you.
Tabatha.
Ah,
Oh,
so
that was
good.
awesome.
Did that spark any thoughts in you? It definitely did in me.
Tons, tons. I
Yeah.
mean, she, love speaking with her, love hearing her, love her demeanor is so calm, and yet all of the things I said before, very strong, informative, calm, and she's an amazing human, and we're lucky to have her as part of the industry, and of course, part of our RMB.
I know.
Now, I
So
think we're in a
grateful.
so grateful. Heart is full. I love that. And I'm ready for some different kind of inspiration. One that
What a
impacts my eyes, but without the tears.
what a well-rounded day we've had today, right? So cool. Our next artist and final artist for today. I'm so excited. No stranger to any of you, I'm sure. I always say this. I could tell you how many, but I don't even know honestly how many awards this guy has won. Nahas, I mean, is only one of them. I know he has a secret trophy room somewhere, because if I was him, I would.
Ooh.
But so talented, in everything. And what I love about our next guest is whether it's cutting, color, inspiration, team building, this guy has it all and is so well-rounded. I look up to him very, very much, have for a long time, and have had the privilege of working with him, being on big shows with him. I'm really excited for what he's going to share with us today. A little bit of how his brain works and inspiration, color, and also cutting. Everyone's and how that can change a color. I hear him giggling in the green room, so I might as well just bring him out. Without further ado, the incredible Chrystofer Benson.
Hi.
Hi.
So good to see you guys. So good to see you guys. How are you? How are you? How are you?
Oh, we're good, Chrystofer. We're better now that you're here. How
Yeah,
are you?
exactly.
So sweet. I was watching. The show was fantastic. Philip did a fantastic job. And of course, I love Tabatha. That's like my sis and huge inspiration. So it was great watching, her and all that message. It was great.
You and Tabatha have known
Excellent.
each other for how long now? A long time.
Well, probably over 20 something years.
So Hannah just told
Wow.
us he has 6 Nahas, 5 for color. So we've got the guests. The guests are commenting in the chat box. How many awards do you have?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. How are you guys? I love that you guys are doing this. How are you two?
Oh wow, well, we ask each other a lot. We definitely do check-ins with each other and with our team. But I'm good. I'll answer and then I'll let Sheri answer second. I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm good. I'm always excited on Mondays. It's great to start Mondays off with this event and having people such as yourself. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your inspiration and education with everybody for Raise My Bar. It really,
So happy
for
to.
me, I'm always grateful. It starts my Monday off, even if I go into it feeling whatever I may be feeling, because it's a roller coaster. It always sets my pace, and so I'm super grateful for these Mondays, and I'm just excited and happy today. I don't know, Sheri, how are you? That's what I feel like saying. What do you feel like saying for those of you?
Well, thank you, Alfredo. At first, I feel like saying it's like he caught you completely off guard there. So I'm not sure. You know, maybe I need to debrief with you later and make sure you're okay. So it's making me a little nervous.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Well, Chrystofer, I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. I mean, you and I have known each other in circles of the professional world for many years now. We haven't spent a lot of intimate time together. That sounds weird, but we haven't spent a lot of time having deep conversations together. Sorry about that.
I knew what you meant, but I had to just be a smartass. I gotta.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I knew what you meant.
Erase that. But you know, for me, my life's work, my mission in life is to help the hairdresser, to help everyone, quite frankly. But you know, specifically dedicated my life to the hairdresser. And so for me, right now more than ever, you know, I've gone around the world saying from stages that my job, my role, not only my job, but my passion is to help the hairdresser live best. And right now more than ever is the opportunity to give my all to try to do that. And so not sleeping a lot, but Friday I got a little bit of a lesson that was given to me whereby my coach said, you know, I know this wise woman, because I'm like, I'm so tired, you know, I'm tired, and, you know, not physically tired, but mentally tired, and blah, blah. And he goes, I know this woman, I can't remember, you know, I'd like to credit her, but I asked her how she deals with jet lag, and she told me that it doesn't exist. She denies that it exists. And I'm the one that said it, right? So all of a sudden I was like,
oh, you're like, these are my own words coming back to haunt me.
These are my own words. And so my notes were, stop effing telling yourself you're tired, right? And I swear ever since then, I've been like, woo, amazing. So, you know, it's these moments that we can connect and get out of our head and be inspired by someone else to remember the things that we've forgotten or learn new things is absolutely amazing. And so I'm wonderful, but I'm even more excited to get into your head, because that's what Alfredo said that's going to happen.
Scary place.
Exactly.
That's why I think we both were giggling, because I was like, really, everything? But you're so freaking talented, and I mean, you have created. I mean, again, I've seen your work for a long time, and you've created more recently, I would say, like in the last several years, this sort of signature that you have, which is undeniably Chrystofer Benson. Like, you see it and you're like,
I appreciate that. That means a lot. That means a lot.
Yeah, that's a signature.
That is a Chrystofer Benson hair color. And you're revered, you know, in the industry. Many colorists that I know look up to you for that. And yes, it's won you awards, and it's also, you know, just, I would say probably even more importantly, inspired so many people. And I think the young and those youngins that are new in the industry and those that have been in a long time would really love to know. And I was so excited when Alfredo told me this, you know, how do you even go about coming up with this? So we're excited. I'm excited.
Man,
yes.
Yeah, that's
extremely.
That's a good question. It's a very good question. No, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the very kind words. That means a lot to me. I have such a deep respect for both of you, and you know, I think it's so interesting at this time and what's going on in the world, and it's just refreshing to see people where people care. So to be a part of that, it is, first off, I want to say thank you to both of you, and of course, you know, while it's not directly with our brands, obviously the brands are involved from us as people and who we stand with. So thank you to the brands as well, and also putting it out there. But, you know, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate what we can do as a group and what we can do together. And so, yeah, I know, Sheri, you called out as it truly would be. I brought 5, so it's just,
I was told 4.
first,
I was told
I'll
4.
be honest.
I'm
I don't know where
tied
4
in.
came from, because when I saw 4, I panicked a little. I was like, where did she get 4 from? Where did she get 4 from?
Oh, I was told 4. I'm sorry. Oh,
Hey,
because I put it wrong on
it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. We have,
But he's got
we have
5.
plenty
So
to
look at lucky
we have
us.
plenty to talk about. So
Lucky us.
it'll be good.
under
So, yeah,
promise,
so-
over deliver, Christopher.
Always,
Under promise,
right?
over deliver every
Always.
time.
Lesson number 1.
I love that. I love that. No, it's so true. So yeah, so I think what I'll do is just share a little insight, some technique, a little bit of like kind of the process. I think would be really, I think helpful. This is something I've been doing a little bit more of. The interesting thing is I think when you get at this level, you don't know what you have shared and haven't shared with people. And I think you take for granted like the little things that you do. Because now, it's interesting sharing some of these little things that are super important to me, but I didn't think were going to be as important. I don't know why. I just, sometimes you think you've shared these amazing things, and I think sometimes it's the little things that do so much. So let's start from the beginning. The one that I'm going to start with is actually from Naha this year. And why I'm going to start with this is because we can walk through a whole inspiration. And then I think what we should do is take it from, that kind of aspect to more of a commercial aspect, because ultimately I think Naha is fantastic. It's our Oscars, it's our, Grammys of the hair industry. However, I think, from a commercial standpoint, how does that relate to all these amazing people watching around the world, right? And I think that that's just as important. So I think let's share some inspiration. We'll share some technique. Every one of these are based off of a similar technique. So we'll walk through 4 or 5 of these, and then we'll do a little cutting to kind of merge all that together. So the first one that I'm talking about is, does that sound good? First off, just put a little thumbs
Sounds
up.
amazing.
Sounds
Does that work? Does that work? All right. So this is the one that I get a ton of questions about. And strange enough is it's, for me, I love to make things look super complicated, but I want it to be really simple in its execution. So this is the one that I get hit up a lot. This is one of 3 of the pictures that won Naha this year, and now they're using that for ads to promote some of the shows. This is where that originally started from, right? And so if we look at these triangles and the inspiration and what happens there, and then we go back and we look at that,
Nice.
you can start to see, right, where that starts to pull from. So a couple things I pulled from this was the shapes, which you can see obviously a massive amount of triangles, and then some of the abstract tones, which I thought were super cool. So that's where the first one was. The second one, which kind of tied to it as well, this is on a street corner, and this is literally the corner here. So one graffiti on one side and one graffiti on the other, and this is in Madrid. Cool. And this was on a trip. Like, this is when you get, like, this is when you're so blessed to travel. And we were going through there, and I ended up, like, one of the things for me I always look for is, like, art and street art. Because they're almost fusing right now, right? They're almost becoming like, that is, I would kill for that to be, like, in my creative studio. Like, that's epic. It's epic, right? So I think it's, how do we look at that? And so I was super inspired by both of those. And when you look at them, there's definitely a difference between them, but there is a commonality when you start to look at shape, tone, so forth. Right?
And look how well they go with Alfredo's shirt.
Oh my God, Alfie! Look, you could be in there. So what I did, I recreated the look, right? So here she is. So this is how simple this is. It's a triangle. It's literally a triangle, and inside of the triangle, what we did was we did everything in vertical. So you can see all the striations of what's happening. So I want you to think of this, the sectioning as a triangle. From there, what we did, if you look at the tones, you can see what we started with on one side is our darker tones working into the reds. And so my foils would sit this way, this way, this way. And I would keep working around until I get to that purple and then work back to the same thing on the other side. Everything else is the base tone. So really, this is kind of what I see where trends are going is yes, I think we're going to have vivids and pastels and so forth. But I think it's going to be focused areas, specific areas. And I think this is the part that I want the stylist to take is it doesn't have to be complicated. I think in more so where we're going to start to see things go is simplified. Now, I know there's people that are going, Chris, what am I going to do with the rainbow on some of my clients? And I totally understand that. This is supposed to be inspiring. This is to make you start to think a little bit different and to push your thought process, okay? So from there, from a commercial idea, we take the same sectioning and we take that into more commercial, soft tones. So still the triangle, still the base, still focused in front, and it's still linear. What I mean by linear is you see the striations of what's happening with the color. It's not melted, right? It doesn't mean that you can't melt, and we're going to go into a melt in just a few, but I think the idea is keeping the same sectioning. So same exact thing. Look at the difference in the end result. And you can see the similarities. It's a matter of picking tones. So I think you can take and you can push progression as far as you want. And you can also bring, you know, your tones and stuff closer together to have a lot more commercial viability and what works for your guest in your area. And I think that it's really, you guys, you know, Sheri, Alfredo, I think the thing for me is it doesn't matter. Like I live in Utah now, you know, I can't do this because I'm in a small town. I don't believe it's a matter of thought process. And I think Alfredo, you know, you've proven that as well. You live in New York now. You were out in LA, and it really didn't matter where you're doing it from. You were still doing it.
It's true. I will agree.
Did we lose the connection to you guys?
I'm going to check in on the back end because I can't see that. And are we good? Yep, we're
there
here.
we go. I lost you for a quick
There
little second.
Hey, you did I lose?
Okay.
Okay. So I think it's, you know, I don't think it's a matter of having to live in a big city to accomplish what you want. I think it's a matter of having a thought process. And I love what Tabatha was saying is, what is your passion? Find your passion. And it doesn't matter where you're doing your passion from. It's taking that passion and creating business out of it. And so for me, you know, growing up in Salt Lake, it was all blondes, and in my clientele, that's what my business was I built my business on blondes. And then I built my business on color correction. And then I got bored. And so it was like, how do I start taking people into different identities with where they're at now, changing them, but not going so over the top that it freaks them out. I mean, you know, Salt Lake is a super conservative area, but they like to color hair. And so it was finding that balance, right? And so I show you the extreme of it in the idea of Naha. So now let's take that same idea and let's go a little bit more commercial. So the next thing I want to show you is something that goes and lends itself a little more commercially viable. So tones, you can see I love a beautiful, this is what I want to be, right? Is by the ocean right now.
Right.
A little sunset over, right? You got to wish where you're at right now, Sheri. I mean, it's like, you got to have some creative thinking.
That's right.
The thing I pick up in this is the tones, right? So we're going to work off of a blonde. So I want you to think in the idea that blonde. And then the other thing is we want to work in some of these tones. Now, inspiration doesn't always have to sit perfectly in the horizontal. I like the striations when we turn it that way, because you can almost see what's happening with the colors in almost like what foil work would be. So I think inspiration, you know, you take 10 hairdressers, you can take 10 different inspirations from it.
Wait, Chrystofer, stop for just a second. Can you just go back
sure.
and show them? Because I think that was kind of an innovative thing to do, right? So you've taken a picture of a sunset and you printed it out, and then you turned it sideways so that
so I think perspective, right? No, it's perspective, Sheri. And I love that you say that, because it is perspective. This is how we would always look at it. And this is how I would get like beautiful color melts and huge inspiration, and I do all the time. But then the other thing is if we start to turn it in a different capacity, I think then it starts striations of foils, different view, right? And I think so for me, that print inspiration. That's where it usually starts for me, is inspiration. and then go to technique, and then go to doing it. So what I mean by that is then I would go to
Wait, I'm sorry. Come
like,
back. Turn it all the way upside down for me.
so,
You know what's crazy is I saw like hair
She's
strands
like,
when you turned it to the side.
I
saw, like,
love it. I love it.
I saw
Yeah,
the
Right,
strands of
then it
hair.
could be even. So I think it's so brilliant, right? And I don't know that, we take everything, we look outside. Like if I look outside and I look at leaves, but if I take a picture
Right.
and I start to move that picture and the perspective around, I could be inspired to do a completely different look. I think that is brilliant. Everybody watching.
Yeah.
Take pictures, print them out, turn them all around.
yeah.
Seriously.
No, it's,
Seriously.
yeah, no, I think it's so important. It's so important. And I, and again, I think it's, going back a little bit to what Tabatha said, find things you're passionate about. For me, it's easier to drive from things that I identify with, am passionate about, love. I love Mother Nature. I love a beautiful sunset over the ocean. I love street art. I love art. So those are the things that I think that are easy for me to gravitate to.
Yes.
And I think that in your own world, wherever you're at, is find what that inspiration is for you. To Sheri's point, is it leaves? Is it fall colors? And I know fall colors are different throughout the nation, depending on where you're at. So I think that it can be so beautiful. It's just a matter of how does that resonate for your area, but then how does it translate back to business? Yeah. Ultimately, we need to learn so that we can earn, right? And I think it's really important is, yes, I think it's great everybody's spending all this time learning, but what are we going to go back with and earn with? And I think that as well. Don't just learn right now. Be ready to go back and earn and have that beautiful experience with your guest when you get back to the salon.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah? So the next step, for me would be like, when I think of those tones, like it would be taking a picture, right? So I didn't have great pictures as a kid, so I would take like photocopies of cool pictures that I loved, and then I started to lay color in the way I wanted to see it happen, and then I would break that down into technique. So let's take this idea. I know this ends with yellow, so can you guys see there?
Yep.
So what I would do is I would start to put I would do it the same way as the strand, so it sits the same way. So it's like, where do I want that influence? And when I think of that lightest and brightest, I'm going to take that to the tips, and then what I'm going to do is share with you the technique. So we're going to work off of a blonde. So this is really like, how do we enhance beautiful color work on a blonde and still keeping all that base blonde? So I would take a small triangle and influence a big area, but it doesn't have to be huge commitment because we're only taking small bits of triangle. And then what I would do is add some of this pink. So we work almost from a fuchsia, softest pink into an orangey, into the yellow. Can you guys see that? Does it look grainy?
Yeah. No, it looks all right. I can understand the concept. So would you say?
And then blonde, right? Everywhere else.
Yeah. And would you? So you would take this? Did you draw that originally? The hair?
So that's actually a picture of one of my Nahas this year that my team turned into sketches for me, so I could take this and start showing this stuff. So they made a color book. How cool is this? They made a color book for me, and I wouldn't use it because I thought it was so cool. I'm like, I'm not coloring this. I loved it. But I said, why don't we take this and make this so that there's sheets that I can share with other people. So like when I'm in classes, we can start to, shade color based on the cuts and stuff. Because to me, it should be a package, right? I mean, whether you're working with a colorist or you're working with a cutter, I think it's about how do we resonate the end result together. So I want you to think about the rest of this in blonde. So here was the idea when we see that. A soft commercial, beautiful, beautiful tones.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All on blonde. And the triangle's really, the idea is the triangle is just really concentrated up front. And this is how I started to change my guess, was a few foils back to back, then it turned into a triangle shape, similar like what this is, and then it got a little broader until we ended up doing full color. But I think it's how you get it there, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Okay. So then we go to the next. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Two things. First, somebody would like a Chrystofer Benson coloring book. So, as part of your next production of items, I think that needs to be in it.
I love that. I love that idea.
I know, right? Me too. And then for those that don't have it, or while they're awaiting the Chrystofer Benson coloring book, what might you, because I love this, because you can take essentially that same look and use your colored pencils just to play around, right? And so
honestly, Sheri, I didn't have, I just went and got like, so this is how I would equate it back to a client, is I wanted to show my guests shapes and looks with color that before maybe they would be into it. And so what I would do was go to the grocery store and get some of the magazines in the shapes and stuff, short haircuts, long haircuts, whatever the magazines were, and just started taking photocopies. And then exactly what you're saying with colored pencils, would just color them in, and then I would present it as part of the consultation. Obviously, these are guests that I would work with and know. And so then, you know, I think a couple of things. They feel like you're really thinking about them and taking care of them, which you are. And then I think the other part is you're doing things different and giving them something that's a point of difference that's thought out. And I don't think that it has to be a massive, long process. I think it's getting into the habit, and then being able to jump off of that consistently. And so these are just things for me that have worked really well. And, you know, I think sharing that stuff, man, if you can make it easier for somebody else, that's the whole reason we do this. And it's the whole reason the mentors and people before me shared the things with me and cared enough to stop my day and say, hey, you know, maybe try it this way. And so, you know, I want to be able to pass that on. And if we can save people time and money and energy that they can create differently with, let's do that and make it great for everyone.
Okay, so I have a request. You can tell me no, but could you then create a highlight on your Instagram page that has, you know, like, well, you have to put it in story. Highlight, Chrystofer.
I didn't know if you wanted me to do like a highlight color.
No, oh, I'm sorry. No, I want you to create.
You mean a story highlight?
You know,
that was the color
show you what
right
it
there,
Sherry. Whereby you put, let's start small, right? So you're going to do a digital Chrystofer Benson hair coloring look, and you can put three.
Should I be taking notes about it?
Oh no, Alfredo's going to follow up with it. So three of your coloring, you know, what you just showed us into this highlight, and then everyone on here and everyone in the world can go there and they can take a screenshot of the picture and then print it themselves and start to play around it. Be inspired by Chrystofer.
Love that
Benson.
idea. You're so sweet. No, I love that. I love that. No, I will happily do that. I'm sure my team's watching, and they'll probably have it up before I get off of here. That's how good they are.
Fabulous.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's a great idea. So I think, you know, that's on the soft end, and so the direction, because then I think as we move from that idea, that would be kind of softest influence. And again, I think it's tone. And then, you know, it's like, how do we go into something that becomes a little bit more progressive, a little bit bolder in saturation, right? And so for me, yes, it's still blonde because we get that sand, but then I think there's a lot more of a color pop when I see this. So picking up everything but the blues, we'll look at that. And a little stronger on the shape. So lots of linear color, but and I say linear, but it really is all done on a melt. So it works from the yellow on top, opposite the one I just showed you, and works into the fuchsia, or the soft pink, the flamingo fuchsia bubblegum, and then into the soft orange, you know, the orange cut down just a bit. So I think, you know, you can have it really super strong and you can have it really, really soft. I think also how we cut things, something strong makes you really see the color, strong fringes, right? You can see that color so much more. But the integration for me is like the color, the cut, everything together, how it works in harmony. I think that's really, really important. I think if you're going to influence color, bold color, it still has to have beautiful sophistication. I still want it to look like technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expensive, not just something, just, you know what, that's the hot thing to do, so let's just add color. I want them to think that it's really thought out for them. So strategy for color, I think, is super, super, super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me show you one last one.
And Chrystofer, that was based on a triangle as well?
Yeah. Same exact thing.
Wow.
It's just gotten a little wider. So yeah, so let's go back. So same thing. If you look top, fine, to the width on the side, and the width on the side. So yeah, and then it's just how it cascades.
Nice.
So I start a lot with like the points at the top because it influences a lot easier up top, and then you can get a lot of color working down off of that shape. And the other thing for me is, you know, too many times as a young colorist, I would get that last hair left, and you're going, oh my God, what color is that supposed to be? And then you pray, and then, you know, you pray, and then it worked. And that was too many times of that. So for me, what I like to do is use shapes just to strategize. And even, you know, if you're balayaging, I still would have some sectioning so that my shapes, I knew what was happening with those. So really for me, it's just a map, it's a strategy. And then whatever you're doing inside of that, a melt, you know, a fusion of colors or linear colors, it's entirely up to you. But I think it's just taking that and figuring, like now we've seen 4 different techniques from just the triangle, all look different, right? So there's one more. In true Benson fashion, you knew I would give you something a little edge. So the thing I find with light as well is morning, it's a lot more pastel. In the evening, it gets a lot more saturated. So we wanted to go with something that's a little more saturated. Still in the eye, right? So something strong. You got it there. So she's definitely got a strong shape. And as we work forward, we still have some of that cascades, but look how strong.
Wow. Yeah.
And then also where we part.
Right.
So even taking that same idea,
So good.
right? So I don't think it has to be everything. I mean, that's literally the same thing. Sure, is just a small triangle. It sits a little bit more to the side, and then it's really where do you part it. But that gives you a pretty good indication of how quickly just picking tones can change. And you know, and again, I mean, it doesn't have to be that contrast.
Yeah, beautiful.
If we want it less contrast, bring our tones close together. Right. But I think that's really the idea is how do we take different inspirations like that? What do you guys think?
Amazing.
Amazing. What I love about that last one for the client is she can change her hair color just by parting her hair. Like every day she can have a new hair color. It's so cool.
Totally. Yeah.
I love seeing the creative process for you.
Yes.
And how you very easily well, first you play around with it with your, coloring, and then you break it down into a very digestible way to color the hair. Because I've seen, some of this more bold coloring, if you will, done by some of our stylists out there. And it's like, who has time to do all that? Like, that would take forever. Whereas that seems much more, again, digestible and, I don't want to say simple, but it's simplified in its approach, and it makes it feel like it's achievable. And I really appreciate that. I do want to know where you took all of the
I appreciate you saying it.
You know what I love about it, but is also it has intention to it. Like it has a very distinctive intention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know me, Alfie. Very little do I do without intention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very little
love
do I
it.
do with that intention, but no, I appreciate that, and I think that it's where along. I think a couple things I would say to that is where along the way you stop for your specific guest progression, right? I think I love what you say, Sheri. For me, I love to find something simple and play with it a bunch of different ways so that I find the ins and outs and I know what I'm capable of doing with it and then move on to something else. So I think that's something I would pass on to people as well, that don't just try something once. I think you need to try it a bunch of different ways, because what it does is no different than setting goals. It builds confidence. And when you are confident about something, I'll go into the salon and talk about it completely different than if I'm not. And I think that, we as hairdressers will talk people out of hair color if we're scared of it. And we'll talk people into it if we're
Yeah.
good with it, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it myself. You don't want to get into some long nightmare process and you're like, no, I don't think you're going to be great with that. I mean, we are
Right.
very convicted in how we talk to people and how we do things. And I think that that's really important, is confidence in how we go back with our guests and taking different techniques. But again, I think it's focus, color. I think we're always going to have highlights. I think we're always going to have double process.
Yeah.
I think we're always going to have those things. There's no question.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, I think from a trend perspective, is we definitely are going to see more focused areas where it is not everything necessarily vivid on the head. It's not to say
Yeah.
there's not going to be some of that, but I just think as a whole, and what most people will be taking and trending, and where we really see forecasts going, is focused, strategized, thought out, and
Yeah.
beautiful color. Regardless of what the tone is. If it's a blonde, make
Well,
it
Libations House
the
of
best.
Styles said you inspired them to finally enter Naha this year. So
Aw.
I love that. I love that. There you go. See,
amazing.
yeah, no, I think that's, that's the ultimate, right? I mean, you can go win, and I love that you said that earlier too, Sheri. Like, the awards are fantastic, and I have definitely been hugely blessed with my team to win many, many, many awards. The bigger thing for me is when you can watch somebody just like that and have them take and do something that you put forth, and they go and take and do something with it for themselves. I think is the ultimate goal in why we do what we do.
Exactly.
No different than a Nicholas French for me, showing me, what Naha was and the ropes. And the night he won his first one, I was there with him, and he just looked at me. He's like, "You bit the bug," and I mean, bit the bug was an understatement, Nikki.
Right.
There was like a slight fatal attraction with it.
Exactly.
I mean,
Amazing.
if hair was a drug, that would be my drug.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Well, that shows, Chrystofer. That
Yes,
shows.
it does.
So I want to know, where are all the pictures? Where were you when you took all the sunset and sunrise pictures?
I didn't, honestly. I went and Googled them. Honestly,
Oh,
I didn't take. I
really?
know those ones I didn't take. The graffiti ones I did take, but these I didn't take. I went and strategized with the looks I wanted to do, and went and pulled them. So I think,
Great.
which I think is great, because I know a lot of times when people see what we do inspiration, they always equate like, oh my God, he was there and he took those, and I was, right. But I think the other thing is, you can go on Google and be just as inspired by the things that you love, and what things work for you, and what things are exciting to you, and then I think build that into your repertoire of what you do. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, Google's the greatest thing ever, because you can.
Well,
It's
it can
scary.
be and it
It's
can't
scary.
be.
Well,
It
yeah, I was
depends
gonna
on
say,
what you're
it's
Googling.
scary. Exactly, exactly. I was gonna say it's scary sometimes what you can find, but on a positive, you can definitely find amazingly cool inspiration pictures, and you should. And I think that don't limit it to just what you're surrounding yourself with in your house. Like, you have a great time to explore right now. And the other thing, I think that's super important is there's a lot of museums that will walk you through virtually right now that are
Ooh.
really interesting, that I would definitely encourage people to check out, because it's a different world, and it's going to be a different world. And I think there's going to be so much virtual, right? I think it's not going to replace what we do in person. And we will get back to that. And I think that we will have times where we come together and do things again. But I think that the world as a whole is definitely going to do a lot more virtual, like what we're doing right now. And I think that that's not just in our world. And so what I would really say to people is don't limit yourself to just our world. Go explore what else is out there, museums, and see, you know, what you can see that inspires you. What is it that inspires you? I mean, I know what inspires me, and that's why it's really super easy for me to pick up and drive on things. But I think each person needs to find that for themselves. And you know, the thing I would really stress today is take this stuff, use it, make it yours, but just do that, make it yours, however that is, and make it your spin. And with any technique, I think pick it up, use it, but make it yours. And that's the uniqueness we each have that we all bring to the table. Nobody else can be you. Nobody else can be you. And I think we need to embrace that uniqueness and learn from each other and share with each other, but be you and be valued and own that space, man. There's no better time than now that we should be owning that space humbly, but we should be owning that space.
Chrystofer, if you're you know, new, let's say, or maybe you've been somebody who's really just catered to the clients, whatever they, you know, really just whatever they ask for, you do, whatever it may be, and maybe they don't really know yet what inspires them. It's a bit of a deep conversation. How does somebody go about?
No, it is a deep conversation.
Yeah.
No, it is a deep conversation, and I think, and I love that you asked that because honestly, I didn't really ever feel, and I think people should know this as well. I never felt like an artist or artistic or anything until I got into the hair industry. So, which is really crazy because now in the curriculum and the way I put things together and the artistic stuff that we do to visually show is so artistic, and I just never looked at myself like that or you know, that approach. So it's built a huge amount of confidence for me in just what we explore creatively to share with other people. So I think you have to spend the time to find what your creativity is and what things inspire you. We've all had that feeling when you look at a picture and you're like, wow, that just like does something for me. What does it do? What is the tones? What is the texture? What are the shapes? What is it that draws you to that? And then I think then from there, start honing that. I think it'd be the more simple things can be. And this is just for me. I've always had crazy experiences in life, but one of my teaching experiences was doing this super amazing hair color, got done off stage, and somebody's like, well, how did you do that? And I couldn't explain it because it was like that freedom, creative, just in the moment color, right? When you stand on a stage and you teach, I think there's a huge responsibility of what's coming out of your mouth and how it's coming out of your mouth and how you are affecting other people in this world. And so with that responsibility, for me, I really went back to the drawing board, if you will, and simplified, not changed the quality, but simplified the execution in the way I colored so that from a stage, I could make it easily explainable color-wise, even if I'm cutting hair, right? Yeah. And so I think that was the other thing was because I'm a cutter, I didn't necessarily want to stand there and paint hair color because sometimes it can be really exciting. And sometimes it can be like watching paint dry. I mean,
literally,
you know, unless you're Justin Isaac, and then it's really entertaining as well to watch.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I love you, Isaac.
Somebody would like to know some tips on how to get into Naha.
Totally. I think the thing is figure out the category you want to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Study what has been successful, and then practice. I think the other thing that I hear so much, and I chuckle a little, is I get the call. I get probably DM'd and called weekly, multiple times about Naha. And what are the tips and what are the five steps to win Naha?
Right.
If I knew that,
Five
I
easy
mean, let me
steps
tell
to
you,
win
yeah, I
Naha,
would have
right?
sold this. I would have sold this.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the thing is most people see Naha and a lot of them haven't really shot before. And I think you're super crazy ambitious to go from, well, I haven't really done a lot of photo shoots, but now I'm going to go shoot and I'm going to go try and create for Naha. I think it's finding your legs and getting comfortable and finding a team that you can really create with and grow with. And then I think it's like have that goal in the back of your mind, always like, here's the long term or the medium, goal. But I think that the biggest thing I hear is, and I ask them, like, how many shoots are you doing a year? Well, I haven't never shot. Like, I love the ambition.
Right.
But that's not reality. That's not reality. Like you're not. And then what I don't want you to do is go and experience that, and then you hate Naha. You hate the experience because you weren't prepared. And so I try and be really honest with people. I think you need to practice. I think you need to
Yeah.
practice your looks. I think you need to get a team around you. I think you need to try and not do everything all yourself. I know a lot of us as hairdressers are like, well, I want to do the makeup. I want to do the hair. I want to do the wardrobe. Some people take a picture too. I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot to do. So
Yeah.
then you go, I can put so much energy into one spot at one time. If I have to do all those things, how creative on the day of the project am I going to be? And so I think it's finding that balance of people that you trust, working with people that you can have around you, not necessarily do the work, but help facilitate it moving forward together. And I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think other people learn along the way. I know, like with my team, that's how we, like Corey Hoffman, I was so proud of her this last year, got in for styling and finishing
Yes.
for Naha. That girl has been at so many shoots helping me for so many years that I just finally pushed her out of the nest and said, it's time, Corey. Like, you have been a part of so many finals and so many wins in just being there with me. You need to have this experience. And so it was so gratifying to see her go out and, step out of the nest, so to speak, because I knew
Yeah.
what she was capable of.
Yeah.
But you got to know that for yourself. And so to see her know that for herself was amazing.
That's
Amazing.
amazing. So we've got another. I would like for you to answer this. I could answer it as my perspective from a judge, but I would like for you to answer it. But before we do that, I would also like to let
Okay.
you know that Hair CBC says that the coloring page is live on C Benson
Oh, there you go.
on Insta stories. So
Do you see how quick my team works? Do you see
Like,
that?
Yeah.
That's gangster.
So
Yeah,
the coloring book is
that's
already live on Chrystofer Benson's page. And please, everybody go there. So this next question is, what gives a collection for Naha cohesiveness?
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh, that's a really interesting.
Really good one.
So I think it could be a few things. So, if you look at like the ones this year, for me, let me see. For me this year, it was really the wardrobe, right? Is what tied a lot of that together. It was super bold. It was really edgy. There was definitely elements of black and white, but there was elements of really strong pops of color, and it was called pop. So that, for me, is what tied it together. The hair could tie it together. The background could tie it together. I think that if everything, and this is something that I've had to learn the hard way, I think if everything across the board is matchy, 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 it's one too many matchies.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, as a prior judge, what I would say to anyone watching is that if you had 100 photos, laid out on a table, could you pick out the 3 or 5,
Exactly,
whatever, that
exactly,
belong
exactly.
together?
Yes,
And if you
yes,
can,
that's a
then they're
great point.
cohesive. So they have to look like they
Yeah,
belong together.
is it the tone of is it the tone of background? Is it
Yeah.
is it they're all one color of background? Is it they're all different colors of background? I just think that it's a great question, but I think it's about strategizing. Know what your end goal is, know what you want to see in the end, and then also I think start working back from that of how much work is that going to be? How do I go about this? and put the work in. Like, this stuff doesn't just happen overnight. And I think that's a lot of the other thing is people think, hey, I'm going to do, 3 models and you know what? And sometimes that happens, and that's amazing if it does. Most of the time, that's not reality. It's thought out, it's executed, it's planning, it's practice. And I'll say it again, practice. I know that's a tough word sometimes that not a lot of us want to hear, but if you think for 2 seconds what I've been doing when this quarantine's been on, let me tell you, the practice that's been going on.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's, and I've won many awards, but it's not about the awards. It's about me getting better at different things. And I think that's what we all need to do is just look and go, what am I great at? Let's celebrate that. Let's anchor that. And then what things do I need to elevate? What do I need to raise my bar? Right. What do I need to, seriously, because I think it's named that for multiple reasons, but you have to look at it for yourself and go, I need to put the work in because I care enough and I want it bad enough, and there's nothing that's going to stop me.
Right? Wise words, my friend. Wise words.
It's my glasses today, Sheri. It's my glasses that make me so wise today.
I don't know. So for those that are watching the art from the Americas, NAHA stands for the North American Hairdressers Awards. It's like the Oscars for hairstylists here in the United States, including Canada. And I would say that all of the tips and advice that Chrystofer is giving you as it relates to entering that contest apply to all contests.
Yes.
It's all about
around the world.
Finding out what you're passionate about, looking at inspiration, breaking that down, practicing, and not trying to do it all yourself.
No, I think, listen, you summed it all up. I love that. It's so true. It's so true. It's so
That's
true.
usually my job. That's my job. Somebody would like to know if you're creating on, I think it's Niagara Falls. Are you creating any inspiration from Niagara Falls?
No, but I really would love to go see Niagara Falls in person.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's.
I've never
gone there. I've never
Group
gone.
trip.
Maybe we should go when I'll come out.
Yeah, we'll do
go on a road
trip.
I think, again, I think there's so many different places, and a lot of people ask me why to live in Utah. Utah is stunningly, stunningly beautiful in its outdoors, and so that is something I grew up with, and that's something that I've always been drawn to. So again, I think that it's finding what it is in your area. Niagara Falls, I think, is an incredibly beautiful place, and I would love to see it in person. I haven't ever done any inspiration from it, but I'm always open for inspiration, and I love the suggestion.
Excellent. Well, I think other people want to go on a CBC road trip, so they seem excited by it, which is great. It could be a thing. You could have like
that could be amazing.
They do artist retreats all the time. This could be your artist retreat, right? You could get there. You could color at night. You could have. I don't know.
That'd be amazing.
No, it was,
Sarah, you put it all together.
It was so cool because
I've always been
so into like what inspires you. But today, like, I learned something new from you because we've been through that. You and I were on stage once, and you were like, send me pictures of what inspires you, and you were sending me pictures of like what you were using for the particular color that we were doing. But today, when you did that, it was, I know for Sheri too, it was such an aha moment for me when you turned.
Thank you.
The picture and like look at it from a different perspective. And then the other part for me was like the mentorship. I love your mentorship, like talking about Corey and the team and like you just being so good because I know so many, they're all so incredible and they do like look at that, like they have the coloring book up, like they were probably like texting, like get the coloring book up, like upload it. like that. And it's so inspiring.
Like they were threatened, right? I was like,
right. Their next thing is never go on with Sheri again. She'll make us do something right away.
Oh no, it's good. No, but I think this goes to, I think this is a perfect point, right? I didn't know they were on there because I can't see any of the comments, but I had a really good feeling that they would be there, and I knew if they were hearing this, they would be all over it because those are the kind of people that I surround myself with, that they would want this for the artist as well. And so that's why I was like, there's no doubt in my mind, if they're sitting there listening to this, they're already all over it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think that's for all of us, right? Whatever job you're doing, surround yourself with amazing people that you can jump with, and
That's
like,
right.
let's go make this industry better, because that's what it's about. It's not about us individually. We're going to go so much further together as a group and as a team, and as an industry. And I think that if we can support each other in that and make it better because we make a conscious decision to make it better, we should do that.
That's
Love
right.
it.
I completely agree. Chrystofer, it's been so amazing having you, and just your getting into your mind. It wasn't scary at all, actually. I
love
felt
it.
very warm and cozy in there.
It did.
So.
It did. Stay a while.
So thank you for all of that. Again, for everybody that's watching, continue to go to Chrystofer Benson's page. Learn from him. He is super creative, has gone through the journey of not knowing where he wanted to land as it relates to creativity, has done the work to get there, and will continue to inspire you every single day. Also, don't forget to not only go and get your coloring book pages, but share them with as many people as possible, as well as the tips and tricks. You can send them back here to RMB, the RMB channel on YouTube, to be able to see Chrystofer, so he can explain exactly what he does with the coloring books. Somebody has them printed already, so there's that.
Yes.
This is happening
Oh my God!
fast, Chrystofer.
Wow, Sheri, look what you started. Look what you started.
You said you never
So
know
good.
where inspiration
I
is
love
going
it.
to come from. So
I
inspiration
love
for
it.
a new CBC tool in your.
No, you inspired me today. You inspired me today to put that up there. I don't know why we haven't put it up there again. And I think this is what the industry is about. Like, your suggestion of that, I think, is going to be amazing for other people. And if we can do that, awesome. So thank you for the suggestion. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It's Alfredo's pleasure
Yes.
having you. And thank you. Stay safe, stay well, and we can't wait for our Niagara Falls road trip together.
Absolutely.
You so much,
You guys take
Chris.
care. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you,
Appreciate
Thank you,
Chrystofer. We
Chrystofer.
love you.
Take care. Love you back. Take care, guys. Take care.
Bye.
That was amazing. What
Yeah.
a day.
What
Wow.
a day. I wasn't expecting that either. Like, today was like I knew what to expect, but it blew my mind.
Yeah, for everybody that's watching, just so you know, I don't want to say we're not loosey goosey, because we're not. We're all about just, getting together, hairdressers,
Yeah.
ourselves, as well as the team that's supporting us in the background, who are amazing. Chrystofer said to surround yourself with people that inspire you and you love, and I know that's what I've got every single day. And
Likewise.
we trust each other, and we trust the process. So we don't have rehearsals where we talk about what we're going to be talking about. Our rehearsal is called a tech rehearsal, whereby the artists get on just to make sure they can connect and everything. And I always love what comes out of these, because again, it's about hairdressers bringing other hairdressers some content. We did get a really nice, just to address that. Matthew here says that R&B is incredible quality content, and I appreciate the thoughtful questions and intelligent discussion. Matthew, thank you so much
thank
for
you, Matthew.
saying that, because if you viewers, watchers don't like what we're doing, then it's for nothing. This isn't about us. It's all about you.
About you.
So wow, I tonight, when I do my wins, I've got a lot of wins about what happened today to celebrate. How about you, Alfredo? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. And to your point, the other thing is the artist piece. We tell the artists we want them to come on here and share what they want to share. So we don't really rehearse that either. I mean, we ask them, what would you like to teach? What would you like to share with hairdressers today? It's not about brands. It's about what techniques do you want to share? What do you want to give? And it's, we hear it, but then to see it, I'm always so blown away, because they always take it so far and into such a beautiful thing. And it's just so much gratitude. Same as you. I'm full every single Monday, and today especially, just and hearing that thought, Matthew, thank you, because that is why we're doing it. It's really for the hairstylists out there. So
that's right. And so we have more for the hairstylists this week. So Alfredo, what's happening tomorrow?
I know. So you guys raised my bar. Today is the beginning of a new week. kicking it off with this incredible 3 hours of education. Tomorrow on my Instagram page, Alfredo_Lewis. I'm going live at 1 p.m. EST tomorrow, and I'm going to have guest Philip Foresto, who was our first guest today, that blew us away with his hair painting techniques. And I'm going to just say it again: without darkness, there cannot be light.
That's right.
I'm holding that close today. Minnie and Tabatha brought it back, saying, that's a life thing, actually, not only as it relates to hair, right? It's for everything we do. And then we also tomorrow have Eric Vaughn, who's been on here before, and he's been on your live. So we're going to check in with Eric Vaughn of what he's been up to and talk about his video ideas and all the hairs that he's been doing online right now that always blows us away. So it's going to be super fun.
Excellent. Very good. And then we also
Thursday.
have on Thursday. So tomorrow is called Spill the Tea
Spill
with
the tea.
Alfredo.
I know, I got some new tea over the weekend that I'm going to be drinking. It's a surprise.
Excellent. It's all about like connecting with hairdressers and talking about the creative side of life, I would say, in our industry. And then Between the Sparkles on Thursday with me on my page at Sheri Doss, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it's really talking about, how do we take care of ourselves during this time, not only during this time, but just in life as it relates to the industry, as it relates to just taking care of ourselves, I guess, and inspiring ourselves.
Your Thursdays always inspire me so much. If you guys haven't tuned in yet, tune in on Thursdays at 1 p.m. You're more of a crier than me, but I always get emotional on Thursdays on yours, because the people that, it's really been about so many topics that are so relative to what's going on right now, and the people, you and everyone that's been on there, what they've been sharing. Like, I always look forward to Thursdays. I always get the feels. Like, I've secretly cried at my desk here watching.
Alfredo. Well, I think, really what we try to do is we try to make a very well-rounded offering for everybody. And then also we have discussions like, okay, what's working? What could we do differently? And Alfredo is an amazing hair god himself. And we thought, let's use Tuesdays as an opportunity for, hair icon to hair icon, talk about hair things. And then, I am a hairstylist. I do hair still, love doing it, but definitely spend a lot of my time more on the personal development piece. And we just thought, what, I think it all goes together so cohesively for everybody that's watching. You're welcome, Elvira. You're very welcome. Corey, thank you so much. I'm glad everybody enjoyed the class this week. Again, we hope to continue to bring you all of the things that you need on Wednesdays on both Alfredo and my page. We do have an Ask Me Anything sticker. That's where you inspire us on what to be able to provide for the next week. So please make sure you visit that, type some things in. Otherwise, we're so glad that we got to spend our day with you today. So sending lots of love, light, and sparkles out to you all. Until next time.
Love you guys.